Good evening, Little Masters, and welcome back to Season 2 and Episode 29 of the Rings of Power Wrap-Up. Feels like we were just here, folks, but that's the story of these next few weeks, isn't it?
Well, hopefully with a bit more than 48 hours between recordings, though. Please.
I hope so.
Folks, it's time to pull up a bench in the common room. Again. I'm Sarah Brown, Shield Maiden of Rohan.
And I'm James Tauber, the Sage of the South. And we're both here with Alan Sisto, the Man of the West.
Now, tonight we're going to be talking about Season 2, Episodes 3 and 4 of Amazon Prime Video's television series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power.
After this, we'll get back to one episode per, episode. But stay tuned for another long one tonight.
Before we get started, we want to offer a warm welcome for those of you joining us for the first time. Here at the Rings of Power Wrap-Up, we talk about the characters, the story, and the lore behind the Rings of Power.
And we're going to often dive into some of Tolkien's biggest themes as well, things like free will and fate, or fellowship, or mortality. And of course, we're going to do more than our fair share of speculating.
We hope you'll learn something new about Tolkien every time you listen, and we hope you have a few laughs in the process. We're glad you've joined us.
And we hope you'll be glad you joined as well. Right. No more dilly-dallying, you two. Let's get straight into it, shall we?
Actually, I got a little dilly to dally here. James has a correction to make, and I want to get that out of the way before we get in.
Yes. Reinaldo José Lopez corrected me. I had, very gently, I had said in the previous episode that the song that Gil-galad sang was basically a chopped-up version of Númenor.
Mm-hmm.
Reinaldo pointed out that it was in fact the earlier song that Galadriel sings that we actually get in English. And it has lines in English like, the winter comes, the bare and leafless days, the leaves are falling in the stream, the river flows away. O Lorien, too long I have dwelt upon this hither shore. And what Gil-galad is actually singing is a translation back into Quenya of that poem that we only get, or a chopped up version of it. But anyway, thank you, Reinaldo José, for pointing out I got the poem wrong. It's the one before Númenor, not Númenor itself. Fair
enough. Well, that was a really good catch, and thank you. Listeners, please do feel free to let us know when we make mistakes like that. We may or may not listen. All right, we will. Now, let's go ahead and get into this. Normally, I break these down by what appears first. That's really just how I did it last time. But I thought this time around, there are a couple of short segments that I want to touch on first because we don't see the places very long. The first is the Mordor line, and the second is the Moria line. So let's start with the Mordor line. There's really just the one scene there, right? Glug doesn't want to go to war no more. Isn't that Sauron guy dead? Let's leave him that way. Not a bad idea if Sauron's dead. It's a big if, though, right?
Yeah. But doesn't this continue this path of humanizing the orcs that Rings of Power have really been doing? Because instead of them just being an amorphous mass of things that you can kill and in as big a number as you possibly can, they're actually giving them personality and motivation and their own desires and fears. This, I think, is fascinating, actually. I know some people aren't too keen on it, but I actually am keen on it. I think it's really interesting.
That's the thing. It has been a polarizing thing, hasn't it? I mean, we've seen a lot of people, a lot of the trolls out there, not Damrod, but some of the
Damrod the troll, different trolls, yes,
have been a little upset by the fact that this orc dare have a child and be concerned about, maybe going to war. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's strange because you only have to go back to The Hobbit.
Yeah.
To see a couple of things. One, the whole idea of revenge against one's father is, and those family relationships are there in The Hobbit, as well as the fact you've got Goblin Town, which is a community of goblins. They're not just a war machine. No, there's a community aspect to them going all the way back to The Hobbit.
Enough of a history that they have taught to themselves so that they know and recognize Glamdring when Gandalf pulls it out. It's been gone for thousands of years. These guys know what it is. How is that? I mean, look, I'm not trying to say that goblin schools are the best schools and that they get the high SAT scores, but they clearly at least have some sort of, mythological and historical education that they've taught on to their people.
Right. And it shows that there must be at least this oral tradition that they pass stories down through, an oral tradition, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And that does imply some sense of community.
I doubt their written literacy.
I doubt their written literacy.
I think you're right with the oral tradition.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably
But
right there.
also, I know some of the complaints are that, and I've seen a lot of complaints with
Yeah,
regard to the
same.
orc child, and clearly a figure that is an orc female. And you know what? It's not anti-Tolkien's thinking. There's
at
an
all.
unpublished letter to Mrs. Munby. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
1962-ish. I don't know. I could be wrong on the date.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, in which Tolkien actually says to him, and this is a quote to Mrs. Munby, this is a quote, "There must have been orc women.
Yeah.
But in stories that seldom, if ever, see the orcs, except as soldiers of armies in the service of the evil lords, we naturally would not learn much about their lives. Not much was known."
No, why would we?
Right. So that doesn't mean that they weren't there. And also in other letters, and James, you can probably tell me exactly which ones, he does talk about how the orcs must have reproduced along, in the same way as the children of Ilúvatar and of men.
Yeah. I mean, it explicitly said that that's how they reproduce. They certainly didn't come out of muddy pits in the ground.
Yes,
no,
exactly.
No, they did not.
Yeah. I mean, we can go back and forth on the different origin stories of orcs, and certainly Tolkien did.
Oh, yeah.
And Tolkien, at the end of the day, wasn't so keen on this idea of them being corrupted elves, because then we get into the issues of, what happens to their Fëanor, their souls after they die. So he goes back and forth, and maybe they're men after all, and all of this kind of thing. But if the show is going to go with the Silmarillion canonical version, that they are corrupted elves, this makes sense, especially early on in that lifespan, so to speak, of the race. I mean, here we are at the beginning of the Second Age, but we're used to seeing orcs at the end of the Third Age, thousands of years later. So if these are fewer generations descended from the original corrupted elves, they're going to be a little different. They're going to be taller, which we see. They're going to be perhaps a little more elf-like. Certainly Adar, is an elf still. He's not even an orc, but that sort of corruption, I suppose, would take changes over time. I don't know. I think I'm speculating there, but what are your thoughts, James?
Gosh, I don't know if I have much more to add. I think the key thing here is that Tolkien, it's a complex issue, and Tolkien was wrestling with a number of different possibilities here. And there's nothing that we saw in the show with regard to these sort of aspects of the orcs that contradicts any of that. They're exploring a particular possibility that I think is entirely in line with the considerations that Tolkien had about all this. And I think they've done a perfectly good job of dealing with those sorts of issues.
Yeah, of all the things I would have to complain about Rings of Power, and trust me, I have a few things to say about
that sounds foreboding, Sarah.
This is not one of them, actually.
No.
I actually don't have a problem with this thing. I find the way in which they are doing the orcs is so much more interesting than Jackson's orcs, which were racialized and essentialized.
Far more 2-3-dimensional.
Right. Yeah. Yes, they're so much more interesting. Yes, give me orcs that have their own motivations and their own culture and their own thoughts and their own fears. That's so much more interesting.
And it's consistent with what Tolkien wrote. Even in the Lord of the Rings, we see Shagrat and Gorbag talking about setting up shop some other place with no big bosses. They are not necessarily keen on fighting for Sauron. Yes, that's what they have to do. Yes, that's kind of what they're bred for. But at the same time, they still have enough independent sentience to not necessarily want to do that until they die.
Exactly.
And the fact that Tolkien wrote that and makes it very clear that orcs can be independent and can form their own little, and we see it as well. My goodness, look at the 3 different kinds of orcs that interact in the Merry and Pippin thread on their way to Isengard. You've got the Moria orcs that have come down. They want to have vengeance for their fallen leader. And then you've got the Isengard, the Uruk-hai that Saruman has bred that are perhaps more like half orcs. And then you get the Mordor orcs. It's every one of them has a different culture, seemingly, and so much so that they clash. Of course, they're going to clash. Yeah. We know that they are evil for the most part. Let's be honest.
They have different languages. We're told that they had to speak the common speech because they couldn't. They didn't understand each other's languages. Yeah.
And of course, they have some little tiny bits of culture. Whether it's just the graffiti on the fallen head of a statue of a king.
Right.
Sure, that's not exactly, going to make it on the walls of the Louvre anytime soon, but it's something. It suggests that there's some sort of, cultural, memes that are going around, anything along those lines. So the idea of bringing them to life a little bit is perfectly fine with me. And certainly gives us a chance to see some really good acting, some really good prosthetics.
Yeah.
The guy who plays Glug in particular, I thought was very impressive.
He plays quite a few, actually.
He does. He's like
quite
6 or 7 orcs,
yeah.
doesn't he? Yeah.
Not at the same time, though.
Not at the same time.
Here's another thing I just want to point out, right? Because if you read the Lord of the Rings text, let's just fix with that one. What makes you think all of the orcs in the Lord of the Rings are male? What's the evidence what's the evidence that all of the orcs in the Lord of the Rings are male? Yes, the ones that speak are all given masculine pronouns. Sure. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot more than just the ones that speak. There is no evidence that all of the orcs are male. Not at all. Tolkien never tells us that all of those orcs are male.
No.
So I think, let's just open our minds a little bit and stop making everything default masculine and question ourselves on how we're actually reading the original text. There you go.
That's a very good point. There is no evidence either way. It doesn't tell us that there are women in the front lines, but it doesn't tell us there aren't. And certainly there's nothing to suggest that there couldn't be. Even if the women, the female orcs, are simply back in Barad-dûr the breeding pits or some terrible thing that Sauron has set up, they still exist. The orcs reproduce like the children of Iluvatar. Tolkien's made that abundantly clear. So the idea that they have orc women and orc babies, that's a given. So just knock that off. I just don't want to.
I think so.
Speaking of trolls, Damrod arrives, and I had to say it's a heck of an arrival. I love the music to his arrival. And I love just the ground thumping, and all the orcs are terrified for good reason. This guy has absolutely no filter and a very quick trigger, as can be seen by the goblin, the orc head that he drops. The messenger. He's killed a messenger. The guy has no sense of propriety.
Messengers don't get a good run of it in the show, do they?
They
this is not the only.
Don't.
No, you're right. Those elven messengers. Woo.
Yeah.
They're sort of like the red shirts of Middle Earth,
Yeah.
Continue to mix my metaphors. Damrod clearly hates Sauron, though. What are your thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
Is Damrod like, what's the backstory there? Why does he hate Sauron?
I don't know, but it's clear that he's an independent, he's doing it because he wants to.
Yeah,
right? It's made perfectly clear.
It's not like he's Adar's, BFF.
Right. Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
I'm quite enjoying
I guess we'll find out
that. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying this, the Damrod the Troll thing. My only beef, and we've talked about this, is why did you call him Damrod? There are so many other names you could have chosen.
I know.
But actually, the troll himself is pretty awesome, actually.
He is. I know. I love it. I love how they gave him not just that sort of thick, hidey sort of skin, but now he's actually got hair. Like he's got sort of like a hairy chest. He's like this big old guy, and it's gray. It's just, I'm like, all right, this guy's going to have some fun when it comes time to the battle sequences.
Yeah, because Damrod has just seen it all. He's lived through it all. He is not taking any of your crap. So,
no. He's the eater of dragon bones. I mean, that's got to be a story. I want to hear more about that, and hopefully we will. The only other shot of Adar is something we're going to get at the very, very end of episode 4. We will talk about that, but we're going to include that in one of the other lines. We're going to talk about that when we get up to Elrond and Galadriel. Mm-hmm. So I want to move on to Moria, because we just saw it for just a very short amount of time early on, I think in the 3rd episode, not the 4th. And it was, opening with Narvi going to speak with King Durin, updates him about the food reserve situation. We've got 3 months of food for our people, and then we're going to start starving to death.
Yeah.
Clearly, they're setting up that immediacy, right? The need of, we've got to solve this problem right now.
It's actually reminiscent of the issue with Linden, right?
Yeah,
and the elves fading, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm beginning to think, I'm hoping that it turns out Sauron has manipulated things, like, for example, the volcanic eruption of Mount Doom. We see those little creepy crawly lines on the map that go over to Khazad-dûm, and then the earthquake happens and the lighting system fails. That black ooze, of course, is what's on the tree in Lindon. Sauron is manipulating things behind the scenes to create the need that only he can satisfy with these rings.
Right.
And it'll be interesting to see what that need is for men. I think it's going to be immortality. but my goodness, it's maybe, just maybe, we'll find out that the elves weren't going to fade after all. You know,
Yeah,
that was good.
I mean, you can see how they're probably going to sell it. I mean, this is kind of speculating here, but how they're going to sell it to the dwarves that they need these rings is, well, the elves got rings, and look what happened to Lindon. They were dying out there, and now everything's great. Here you are in Khazad-dûm, and everything's going terribly. But if you have one of these rings, it's going to be the same for you as it is for the elves in Lindon. So you can see how they could sell that, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's how they're going to sell it. And it's just this whole idea of Sauron manufacturing the need. It brings me back, James, to what you talked about last episode, where you went back to season 1, where he was in the jail cell in Númenor with Galadriel, and talks about, I think that moment is turning to be like the central moment, finding out what it is that people fear and then giving them a means to overcome it.
Yep.
That's what Sauron's doing. He's given the elves.
In some cases, he's actually creating the thing that they fear.
He's creating the fear. Exactly. That's the thing. Find out what people fear. Oh, elves fear fading. I'm going to make them think they're fading, and then I'm going to give them a means to overcome it. Okay. Yeah. Now I'm going to trigger this earthquake somehow in Khazad-dûm, and I'm going to get that influence in through the rings, through them. And with men, I think it is going to be, the mortality issue. I almost see shades of to go to. I know we just mentioned red shirts in Star Trek. Now I'm thinking Star Wars. I'm thinking Palpatine and Anakin. Where Palpatine's talking about cheating death and how you can save her and all of this kind of stuff. I think we're going to get something along those lines. He's going to be talking to men, obviously Farazan at some point, about cheating death and how you need the rings.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
that's it. Ooh. Create the need. Provide the means to overcome that need. It's classic advertising, actually.
Yeah, it's classic salesmanship right there. Yes. Create the need, meet the need, and then sell the thing that meets the need. Yeah,
exactly.
Oh man, they're going to come at a high price. All right, so now we have the need, right? We've got the urgency of this situation. It really is urgent. 3 months of grain, and of course they don't even have any produce. All they have is the grain at this point because they can't. The other stuff's not going to keep. So urgent situation, and Prince Durin, after having gone to Eregion, and we'll cover that in the Eregion line, comes back and sort of under duress because Disa has told him, if you don't tell him, I will, goes before the king. What did you think about that moment? It was a long, drawn out moment.
I think that was quite realistic because you've got, a parent and son who have really fallen out. That's not just going to be overcome in a heartbeat. That you can see them dancing around each other. Who's going to give a little? Who's going to give a little here? I think that's actually really quite realistic because talk about the stubbornness of dwarves. And here you have two of the most stubborn in the same room trying to communicate. Well, good luck.
Mm-hmm. It brings me back to that line where Disa is trying to get through to the king. Is it must take a lot of strength to carry a grudge that long. And he's all, it does.
Yep.
He doesn't deny it.
He doesn't even flinch at that. Like, And you see that even there, even when his son apologizes, it's just, you look terrible. I mean, sure. We can feel the ice thawing there a little bit. And it's clearly an indication to his son that, okay, we're going to be back to normal, but there's not like, I forgive you. There's no embrace. There's no, heck no, we're not going to do that on this is Khazad-dûm. We don't do that. Yeah, that was good. That was one where, yes, it was long, but it felt like it needed to be long. Like we needed to see that tension, that long walk for Durin, and just looking at him before a word was spoken really felt emotionally heavy. Yeah.
Yeah. And we know that this tension between the two is going to actually continue. So I think what the showrunners are doing quite cleverly is they've created the tension. Here we have a beat of almost peace between the two of them. And then the next time that tension hits, it's going to be even worse because we've had this moment where you can see them almost kind of reconciling, and it's all going to go it's all going to go to hell. Isn't it?
And the reason it's going to go that way is because the younger Durin, Prince Durin, is now basically adopting the position that his father once took, which is like, hey, when we were asked to help the elves, you were concerned that helping them cheat death is going to lead to some very bad consequences. And I'm getting that same feeling right now. I don't trust what does he say? The power in Eregion. He doesn't even name Anatar. And we'll get to that whole scene because it is a great scene. He sees right through him. But here he is telling his dad, because it's his duty, right? It's my duty as a dwarf, not even as your son, not even as the prince, just as a dwarf. It's my duty to tell you this, but I don't trust it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's going to lay the groundwork, Sarah, as you suggest, for a continuation of that conflict, or a rebuilding of that conflict after this sort of temporary détente.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, you're right. We certainly know it's coming. I mean, I think we've seen that scene in both the teaser and the trailer where he kind of hurls his younger son away from him when he tries to take the ring off. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we've got a lot more, folks, to say. I mean, we've still got the Pelargir line. We've still got Númenor. We've still got Eregion. We've still got the Stranger and the Harfoots line. We've got, and then Lindon and Galadriel and Earl. So we got a lot to talk about, and we will talk about more of it right after this break.
We're about to get back into discussion of the 3rd and 4th episodes of Season 2. But we want to remind you that when you finish listening to us, the talk continues all night long at the Rings of Power wrap-up.
We have an amazing community of listeners, and they really do keep the conversation going. From the Rings of Power group on Facebook, our Twitter feed, our Reddit community, and more.
That's right. Now on Facebook, just look for Rings Wrap Up. You're going to follow the page and get the episodes, get the news, but you're really going to want to join the group to get in some great discussions about the show itself as well as our show.
And if you're on Reddit, look us up at r/Rings Wrap Up and follow us on Twitter and Instagram where we're at Rings Wrap Up.
And if you enjoy the show, please help us by giving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and recommend us to your friends.
Thank you for doing that. And this time we're moving to the Pelargir line, and we're going to talk about Isildur is where it starts. It actually starts really with Elendil speaking to Beric, going all the way back to season 1 and releasing him. I can't remember what episode was that in. Was that 6 or 7?
Episode 7. It was episode
I think it's 7.
Because 6 was the big battle. Yeah, that makes sense. So Beric bolts off, and I think we saw that part as well. But the rest of it is new. We see him in Mordor. The ash is still falling. He's looking for Isildur. He runs into some orcs. Clearly, they're finding horses to be very valuable, as they would be. And so the orcs are trying to capture him, not so much for food, but for transportation. And he is able to escape, but let's talk about where he escapes. The orc says, don't go after him. He's headed into the Black Forest, and nobody comes out of there alive. I've been to Bavaria. I've been, and I came out of there alive, so I'm not sure what this orc's talking about, but... All right. No one comes out alive. Let's talk about the spider cave.
Well, it's clearly, if not actually Cirith it's shades of Cirith. It's in the rough location of Cirith as well. And I think we know what's coming once.
Oh, yeah. Once the subtitle says squelching noises, you know what's coming. You don't even have to look anymore. It's definitely a spider.
Baby Shelob.
Maybe, yeah, baby Shelob. It is definitely baby Shelob. We've had that confirmed. And I guess I just want to touch on that real quick. I think we touched on this actually when we were analyzing the teaser or the trailer. And we talked about this idea that, it can't be, Shelob can't be little. Shelob must be huge by this point, right? She's ancient because she was a child of Ungoliant. But like we've talked about on the show before, the way that is phrased, the last child of Ungoliant to trouble the unhappy world, it's clearly referring to her as a descendant of. It's like when Theoden says, I go now to the halls of my fathers. Yes. He has only one
doesn't mean his dad.
Thingel.
Yeah.
But he means his ancestors. And that's what we're talking about here. So, yeah, baby Shelob, got no problem with the theory of baby Shelob. Might not like the execution of baby Shelob. I'm not sure that I'm a huge fan of the moment, but it certainly got me creeped out.
What was your issue with it?
I don't know. It's another one of those moments that felt a little too homage-y to Jackson in terms of the way, and we've talked about this before, how there are too many times that they speak the visual and textual language of the Jackson films rather than the books. And this felt like one of those moments. But they weren't afraid to make it creepy.
No.
I mean, that spider bit that orc's head off. That was really something. I was expecting something different, and whoa, got stuff all over the TV screen. Just gross.
It was a little bit, but I'll tell you what I thought, and that was we got a whole load of build-up for very little payoff.
Yeah.
It seemed to be over extremely quickly, because from the moment where Beric runs into the dark forest, and then we get all the dank cavey thing, and then we realize it's Shelob, and then it's over in 30 seconds. So lots of build-up and just not the payoff that I would have liked. It was almost like they felt they had to insert this here. They really wanted a Shelob moment.
Yep.
But it's just a blink and you miss it almost.
And it's not particularly relevant to the story. It doesn't serve any greater part of Isildur's escape from Mordor. I mean, other than to say that he gets actually rescued, I suppose, by Beric. But I mean, really, it's yeah. And I think that falls into the whole homage thing. It's
I think it's Jackson fan service.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do a spider thing, then I mean, Tolkien did it best. Let's just be honest here. Actually making Shelob a real hitch in the step for Frodo and Sam. But for this, it just felt like, I mean, what was Isildur doing in the cave in the first place? Why was he just, I don't know, chilling and not getting the heck out of there? And then in comes Beric and it's, oh, hi, it's my horse. Let's get out of here. Whoops, spider. Get rid of the spider. Let's run. Yeah,
I mean, if we'd seen maybe creepy spider legs pulling Isildur's body away from, from underneath that house and dragging him to a lair. Okay, you've set it up at least. But like, how did he get there? How did he end up in that place and attacked and tied up in the web? And was he fighting that orc? And did they end up both captured by spiders? The one that woke up and they got in a fight. I mean,
is there a missing scene? I want that missing scene.
Yeah.
I wondered if there was a missing scene. This has happened a couple of times where we've felt like things would have flowed better if there had been another scene in there somewhere. Yeah. And I think we know that they had to cut stuff. I mean, we've seen actually shots of seeds that got deleted. So I wonder if that's what happened here. I personally don't have a problem with the fact that they introduced the idea of there being a giant spider on the border of Mordor. I quite like that kind of establishing what's going to become important for 3,000 years later or whatever. That doesn't bother me so much, but I agree it did feel rushed, and that could have very well been because there was a scene that got cut or aspects of that whole sequence that got shortened.
Yeah, that might very
it's
well
not
happen.
even clear that this is on the border of Mordor. If we'd seen Isildur trying to get out of Mordor and then trying to go through this
mountains,
cave,
let's say, instead of a forest,
then it would have been, I think, much more clearly established that this is a spider lair on the edge of Mordor. As it is, the last time we saw Isildur was under a burning house, and now suddenly he's in this cave.
Yeah,
I just felt like, yes, it's rushed. There just wasn't the lead into that made us understand where he was and why he was there.
It's sort of like I want to see a freeze frame of Isildur wrapped up in the web. Hi, my name's Isildur. I bet you're wondering how I got here. I mean, because we're really wondering how you ended up there.
Yes.
How did this happen? And where are you? Because again, we know that he ends up encountering Estrid later on in the forest, and it appears to be that he's heading south. So probably in Ithilien as he's heading towards, down the Anduin towards Pelargir. So was this in a pass on the way out of Mordor? It would have been nice for us to see that. Like, that's a mountain pass. Mm-hmm. That's the spiders pass, and we don't go there. That would have fit more. Like, what forest are we in? Are we still in Mordor? Are we already out of Mordor? Where does this take place? Because you're right, James, I actually have no problem with them setting up Shelob's lair and Shelob. I think that's actually a great thing, though I do hope they return to it. Like, I hope this isn't just the one time we see Shelob. I hope that we actually get more Shelob and that there's actually some service to the story as a result. But right now, because it just is standing on its own, it felt sort of fan servicey. But Yeah, it gives the CG folks some time to create something fun that hopefully they'll get to use again. The same folks who've been working on the wargs maybe have jumped over and are working on the spider now. Maybe they're having more fun. Sticking with this line, though, it's a lot further down the story. I mean, I can't remember how many scenes come by before we come back, but the next time we see Isildur, he's on his horse. He's still in Mordor. It looks like, right? I mean, because we've got that vile pool in which the body of a Númenorian cavalry rider is rotting away. So that makes me think, now that I think about it, that all happened in Mordor. But I want to talk about that vile pool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, it's giving us a hint of dead marshes. Clearly, it's a little fan service to that. But I also think it's foreboding Isildur's death at the disaster of the Gladden Fields.
Yes, I thought so too.
For sure.
Oh, man. That is something. I have to admit, I got chills at that moment.
What do you make of the emphasis on the boot? Was the implication... I was confused why they focused on Isildur's boots as he was riding away. Were they trying to suggest he took the dead man's boots?
And I think so.
I think so. 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But was he missing boots before? I don't remember him missing his own boots before. Why did he
That's a good
need
point.
to take...
Why
did he need to take presumably soaking wet
boots?
Soaking
the
wet
other
boots?
thing, the thing that I actually thought at first was rather than taking his boots, I thought we saw, or I thought we were being told he retrieved the body and gave it a proper burial. But then I realized, no, that's not going to happen. He doesn't have the physical strength to do that right now. So he must have just taken the boots. But why did he take the boots? I don't know.
Yeah.
Was he missing them? Again, it's another thing like, is there a scene here that we're
Maybe
missing?
there was a missing scene.
Maybe there's a scene in which baby Shelob drags Isildur off by the boots and they slip off his feet.
Yep.
And then she stings him, drags him into the cave.
Yep.
And that solves both those.
That would explain everything. Yes, exactly.
It sure would.
Yes.
I'm just begging for some visual explanation, please.
Wouldn't it be nice if they'd actually done that?
Well, maybe they did. And it had to be cut for time.
Maybe we'll see it in the director's cut. Yeah. So eventually he makes his way out of the worst part of Mordor and encounters a woman at the scene of what appears to have been a battle that took place. And by encounters, I mean is stabbed in the thigh by.
It's a classic meet cute, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a meet cute.
Is, yes.
Guy meets girl, girl stabs guy in thigh.
Femoral artery and he bleeds out in seconds.
Well, it does save that awkward first date conversation, doesn't it?
It does.
It does. Get straight to the violence.
Straight to the knife in the thigh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're moving straight past first date to we've been married 15 years and I'm really mad at you now. I'm just going to stab you in the flipping leg.
Oh, Alan, you're turning on your marriage there.
No, not mine. Wow. Just things I've seen on TV. Stabbed in the thigh by, yeah. Look, it was kind of funny. The timing, I have to say, Isildur, Maxim Baldry's timing on that scene was it was comedic. It was great.
It was a great. I loved that scene.
Brilliant.
The writing was excellent in that scene. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I don't know if it was intentional, but
I think it might have been, right? I mean, it doesn't hurt.
I think so.
It's meant to stay
it does
in
now.
there.
Yeah.
It was good. It was actually really cute. Until you discover that she might very well be a double agent. But
we'll come to that. Yeah,
I know we will get to that eventually. At first, like, oh, she stabbed him.
It was cute. It was cute. Yeah.
But boy, femoral artery moments were my first thought. Like, she's not going to be able to stop this.
No.
And that leg is gone if he uses the tourniquet. And if he doesn't, he's just going to bleed out in a minute. But thankfully, apparently, it's just a flesh wound. Just but a scratch. So she was, of course, I thought you were an orc. Yeah, I can understand. He probably stank like an orc. She wasn't getting a look at his face. Later on, I have reason to think that this whole thing was a setup.
Right.
But so she's supposedly looking for somebody. Now they're off to find Pelargir, which they actually quickly do. Boom. Oh, let's go to Pelargir. And boom, cut. There they are overlooking the harbor of Pelargir with no ships there.
They do set up a passage of time there.
That's true. They do. It's just very quick in terms of our end of it.
Yeah.
They do passage time. Now, before they actually get to the city itself, they end up encountering an old man. By old man, I mean Trap. It seems pretty clear Estrid led them here and would have gone away with them had they managed to kill Isildur and steal the horse. But we don't know that when we're watching this moment. We don't know that at this point.
Yep.
That's right. So instead, we get the hero of the day shows up. And man, I got to tell you, Arondir
I loved it.
What a man. Just gets in there and just awesome elf combat. He's just the superhero, kills them all except for the guy that rode off with Beric. I mean, that would have been nice.
Mm-hmm.
But man, what a combat that was. Well shot, well choreographed, well executed.
Arondir rocks. Yeah. He's perfect, isn't he? I adore Arondir. I think he's absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, he's grown him even more, and he was one of my favorites last year. Yeah.
He's pitch perfect as an elf. He's got that real sense of being contained, that dignity that is there.
The restraint.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Self-control. Yeah.
Yes. It's absolutely pitch perfect for me. I love it.
Even the way he responds to Isildur when it's like, it's me, Isildur. You remember me? Elf memories do not fade.
Yes.
That sounds so elvish right there. That's
Yes.
exactly what he would say. Yeah, really well done.
Not like, oh, hey, dude, yes, I do recognize you. Nice to see you.
That's right. No. Hey, how's it going? Big clap on the shoulders. No, it's just...
Elf memories do not fade.
Yeah. So he's not going to stick around, though. And I think we get a nice little clue as to what his affairs are when he doesn't answer the question as he picks up that large bundle of deadwood, and it's obviously it cuts to the next shot, right? I mean, Isildur's asking what affairs are you talking about, but we cut straight to Pelargir as he's building the pyre for Bronwyn. Man, we all thought that she survived season 1, didn't we?
Yes, and I wonder if the showrunners had intended her to survive season 1, but then of course the actor withdrew from the series. I think her political activism became a priority for her. I do wonder where they were intending to go with Bronwyn, although I do suspect that Bronwyn would have died at some point. I don't think we could have had a human-elf marriage or anything like that. I don't think that would have been a good thing at all. But I do wonder if she was supposed to at least survive into the beginning of season 2.
I would have liked to have seen that. I would have liked to have seen sort of an Athrabeth moment, where they actually kind of talk about the challenges and why, a mortal / immortal relationship is such trouble. That would have been fantastic. It would have been deep dive getting into the Athrabeth. But
wouldn't it?
And for those who don't know the deep dive, I realize sometimes we've got folks who are just listening to this because they've watched The Rings of Power and want to know more about it. In the Histories of Middle-earth, there is a piece called the Athrabeth. So it's a debate between Finrod and Andreth. Now, Andreth is a human woman, who had fallen in love with Finrod's brother. So you've got a male elf and a female human, which is the flip of all the other relationships that have taken place between elves and humans. There are only 3 of them. And that debate is fantastic. And it gets into sort of the metaphysics of Middle-earth. It gets into how men view their belief system and what happens to their spirits after they die. It's a fantastic piece. And I would have thought this was a perfect opportunity to explore a little bit of the Athrabeth in a television show. But all respect to Nazanin. I got to meet her at Comic-Con a couple years ago, an incredible woman. And just, kudos to her for doing what she wants to do and stepping away. But we'll miss her. And Arondir is certainly going to miss her. Theo is going to miss her. Theo, it might actually be the turning point for poor old Theo. But we'll see. He's given us reason to think he's going to go both ways in this episode. But we'll find out. I still think he might be made out to be a Nazgul at some point. But we'll find out. So we get the fire. We get the pyre as they say farewell to Bronwyn. Theo makes it quick. He does not want anything to do with this. He just basically grabs the torch right out of his hand, tosses it in the fire, and walks away. Let's talk a little bit about that death scene. What do you think's going on with Theo? And also, any thoughts on why it feels like the entire city has come out for her burial or for her funeral pyre?
Well, with Theo, he is a very angry young man. He probably feels like he's lost everything that means anything to him. His home, his mother, his sense of who he is, everything's gone. He's angry, and obviously this is not merited, but he's angry at Arondir because Arondir did not save his mother, did not protect his mother. And, he looked to Arondir to be the protector. And I can understand why. Theo's only a young lad. But he is absolutely furious at the world right now. And you put yourself into, what is he supposed to be, like a teenager? Put yourself in
probably
his
like 14,
shoes.
15 maybe.
Right, yeah. But you put yourself in his shoes and you see what has happened through his eyes. And you can understand he is just done with everything. He is over it and he wants nothing more to do with any of that.
All his life catching grief for not having a father. So, his entire life he's been dealing with that, doesn't know his dad. Now, everything in his life is gone, like you said. Not just his mom, but his village, his people, many of his friends, that would have died in that battle. He is alone. All he's got is Arondir, and he's ticked at Arondir because Arondir's failed at the one thing that he might have been capable of doing that Theo himself was not capable of doing.
Yeah.
So,
although, of course, I think there's also some anger at himself because he also did not save his mother. And so there's guilt, survivor's guilt going on there. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing. Poor Theo. Yeah. He needs some serious therapy.
He does. He really does. Yeah. Stitching up Isildur's wounds, right, as Arondir takes responsibility. That was a hard moment, right? Arondir's trying to encourage Isildur, you won't be alone. Your father didn't abandon you. Your family will be reunited. And there's poor Theo, whose father abandoned him and whose family will never be reunited. I mean, wow, dig that in. That's a rumor, Arondir.
Yes.
Too soon, Arondir, too soon.
Yeah, that was rough. We learn, of course, not surprisingly, that she died because of the poison, the orc arrows that she was injured by. I have a feeling the showrunners knew that might happen, right? And they had it ready to go either way. They had it to where she could die halfway through the second season, maybe in a raid on Pelargir by the wild men or some other thing like that,
right?
Or that they could just kill her off in the openers. And in this case, of course, all the way to episode 3 before they actually show us that she's gone. My goodness, you're right. Such a rough patch for Theo. You really can understand when he just dismisses Arondir, right? Arondir's like, hey, what do you know about Beleriand? We had this conversation last episode because we were talking about Eregion being a city where it's really a realm. And here it's explained to us that Beleriand was an entire elven realm, not just a city. He was born there. He felt anger too. So he's trying to identify and trying to sort of mentor Theo, be like, look, I too was an angry young man. I too lost a lot of what I cared for. But let me tell you, that's not going to help you. It's going to eat you up from the inside. And Theo does, just shut up. Just I don't. If we never talk, are you my dad? Are you my dad? Because shut up, get out. Right. I don't want to talk to you anymore. It's rough, but I can get it. Poor kid, The
last thing that a teenage kid wants is for an adult to give sympathy and advice. I mean, get out of here. All right. Yeah. The teenage boy doesn't want to hear this.
But don't give that advice. Don't bother with the.
Yeah. No.
But it makes what happens next, I think, really interesting because there's a little change in Theo once he starts talking to Isildur. Yeah. And it's almost as if he finds a purpose when he offers to help get the horse back. I agree. It's all like, what am I going to do now? Well, at least I can get involved in this. We have that conversation before that about he gets a little bit of a history lesson about Númenor and Pelargir and the aqueducts and all that sort of stuff. So that's just sort of setting up a reminder that this was a Númenorian settlement. That's right. So it sort of does set up that, or remind us of the fact that the Númenorians have been there and settled it. It'd be interesting to see how much more they pursue that aspect of it and any tension between the Númenorians and the wild men because of what happened in the past. Exactly. I hope we come back to that.
Oh, I really do.
But I just thought it was interesting that Theo's sort of like, meet me tonight. I'll help you get your horse back. It's almost like he's decided, okay, I need to do something.
Because I'm not going to be the healer. I'm not going to be the village healer. I'm not going to step into my mom's shoes. I don't want anything to do with Arondir.
Right.
I think there's a couple of things I think that are drawing Theo to Isildur in this case. Number one, he's a human, right? I think there is still some lingering bitterness towards the elves in general that we saw really strongly in season 1 with the Village of Men in the Southlands. So I think that's one element. And the other is that I think Theo sees Isildur also alone and having lost everything. and your father's abandoned you, and your mother is dead. He doesn't know this yet at that particular moment. He doesn't know, but he's going to find out very shortly.
He's going to find out, yes.
So he sort of sees this kindred spirit, and I'm sure that gives him a little bit of hope. Like, okay, you've experienced a lot of what I've experienced, and you're a human. You're not an elf, so I don't have to look at you as though you're superhuman. I think that actually really does help Theo a lot, that connection with Isildur. And we do get that, right? That's when we move to that next part of the story, which is where Estrid and Isildur are having that little chat by the fire. Theo's listening in, and wow. You mentioned earlier, Sarah, the survivor's guilt. Isildur is dealing with that too. And yes. Theo, you can just see the tears pouring down his face as he's recognizing, he's like, man, stop talking about me. He's definitely feeling called out about his own experiences when Isildur is talking about the death of his mother who died to save him, just like Theo's mom. This is heavy, heavy stuff. That bit about being bound to try to earn her sacrifice, though, I want to step in at least a little bit and get your opinions on Estrid's comment. She talked about accepting it as a gift. I sort of feel like there's something here. She even said, because you're precious to her. I don't know that the word choices were unintentional.
I didn't even pick up on that. The one thing I was going to say about that scene, and it was beautifully written. Helen Shang was the main writer on this episode, and there was actually a conversation, a thread on Twitter that I saw between some people that had lost their mothers. I lost my mother too, and Helen saw that thread, and there was this wonderful moment of appreciation from people who had effectively overheard the same conversation that Theo overheard, and hit them in real life. It's sort of a wonderful moment of and it was wonderful that the writer got to see that the impact of that writing can have on people and what they're going through in their real life, reflected in these TV shows. So. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in because it was a really wonderful moment. Yeah,
I'm glad you did. It is neat to see the writers.
No, that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it is.
I was going to ask, did we know prior to this, or I thought we had a conversation last season where we predicted that Isildur's mother had died trying to save him.
That sounds like something we would have speculated on. We were almost certain that she died by drowning.
I don't think we knew for sure that it was her actually trying to save Isildur that led to
No, we didn't know at the time.
We didn't know for sure.
That.
No.
I think we predicted it. I have to go back and listen. Maybe one of our listeners remembers. But I'm pretty sure
I think we did.
We speculated that it was going to turn out that she died saving him. And, of course...
And that made sense, given what we saw in Isildur last season in terms of his sort of anger and desire to prove himself and, all of these things. You're like, okay, there's something going on here. It's not just that he lost his mom. It's how that tragedy took place. And, I think actually it was you that speculated that, which might be why you remember
I didn't want to say without checking, but I think I did, yeah.
Maybe that's what we need to do. We need to crowdsource. Somebody needs to come along and make a wiki showing what predictions have we made in each episode.
There you go.
We can't track all that. Our notes are very vague. They're just like the bullet points of the plot, and then we just talk our way through it. So,
but it's interesting how much this theme of parental approval, it comes up again and again in this show, whether it's Elrond and Eärendil, whether it's Prince Durin and King Durin, whether it's Isildur and his mum, or his dad for that matter, right? This theme of I want to make my parents proud has come up again and again in this. I think it's really interesting.
Well, let's face it, Tolkien has a problem with families. He has a real problem with families. He likes to break them up. He likes to kill off the mother in particular, but he really likes to break up families. Go back to the Lord of the Rings and you'll see that every member of the Fellowship is from a somehow broken family. A whole lot of dead mothers, by the way. Éowyn and Éomer, both of their parents are dead. If we look at Boromir and Faramir, their mother is dead. He really does prefer to have families that are somehow not whole.
Yeah.
Well, it's all he knows himself in a way, right?
It's all, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So actually tapping into this kind of parent-child issue, I think that's really quite interesting.
Yeah. And very deep. And you're right, James. It's what he knew. I mean, for those who don't know Tolkien's biographical details, just briefly, he was, 3 years old when his father died?
Yes.
He was in England at the time that it happened. He and his mom and his brother had gone back to England for health reasons. The dad was still in Orange Free State, which is what's now known as South Africa, and he passed away when Tolkien was 3, and then I think he was 11 when his mom died of diabetes.
Yeah, or 11 or 12
maybe.
around that. Yeah.
Really, really a life filled with loss. And then he talks about, at the end of World War I, all but one of his close friends were dead too. So we're talking about a young man who's in his early 20s, lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think it's not hard to see those threads in Tolkien, and I'm glad to see that the writers here have picked up on the significance of that.
And again, Tolkien talked about the sacrifice that he thought his mother made.
Yes.
He described her as a martyr.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, again, I think the writers have definitely picked up on this idea of what it's like to be a child who feels that way about a parent.
It's a weight.
And the sacrifice.
It's a heavy weight.
Yeah.
It never
It's
leaves.
a weight to carry. Yeah. And you're right, James. He mentions it once or twice in his letters, really out there, saying that his mother was a martyr to her religion. And that Tolkien felt he had to live up to that, somehow deserve her sacrifice. Yep. So, I completely feel it.
This is exactly the language we've heard Elrond speak. It's the language we're hearing Isildur speak. Yeah.
And we know it's what's driving Theo, even if he hasn't said it yet. Boy. And we're going to get to more on Isildur later. My goodness. I mean, we're still talking about him now, but more about that sort of drive for approval and the desire to do great deeds to earn that. But we'll get to that. So Theo's going to, like we said, help Isildur get his horse back, right? Meet me late at night, bring a sword. We've had that chat, and we're catching up now. This is when Isildur and Theo go out to rescue the horse, and that's when things get interesting. Right as the wild men are about to discover Isildur, Theo boldly just steps out, knows that he has to distract them, and asks them if they'll share their fire. Then he shows that mark on his arm. Remember this from first season, folks? Remember when he picked up that sword, the broken sword that was in the box underneath the floor of that barn? Wow. Okay. It's not the right mark, though. It's not the same.
Right.
And these guys see that. And of course, they're like, all right, we're gonna hold you. And then the camp is attacked. Okay. The attack on the camp includes an axe being thrown. Where did that come from? Does anybody have any ideas on this? Because we know the other thing that attacked the camp. We hear the creaking of the trees and the tall things, the big things. We know that the Ents are involved, and we'll get to that thread them later in the thread. But who threw the axe? Because Ents don't have opposable thumbs, do they? I don't think they even want to pick up an axe.
And they would not be interested in wielding axes. That would
the last thing they want is to wield an axe.
Anathema to them. Yes, exactly.
Throw it into the fire.
Wasn't there somebody chopping wood whilst Isildur was trying to get Beric?
Yes,
and
that's
I
right.
wonder if
we cut back to him a couple times too.
Yeah, one of the Ents may have picked up the axe and flung it, possibly.
Lucky shot.
That's true.
Or maybe picked up the guy wielding it and threw
more
it in.
likely. Yes, that's much more likely.
It's an interesting moment, and it's a little chaotic. And I will say that sometimes the dark scenes are a little too dark for me. I may need to adjust the brightness.
It's really
on
hard
my
to pick
out. Gamma seems really, really dark. But then again, I'm often half the time watching it on my computer instead of on my nice big OLED TV because I'm taking notes and getting ready for the episode. So I'm maybe that's all it is. It's just the fact that I'm watching it on the wrong screen. But
I'm trying so hard not to make a joke about your age, Alan.
Oh,
I'm holding
James,
back. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't say it.
So hard right up until you didn't.
I would like my restraint noted. I said nothing.
You who are like 5 months younger than me. Yeah.
And I will always be 5 months younger than you.
That's right.
No, I could hear Treebeard's voice in my head saying, well, then again, you are very old.
Then again, you are also very old.
Sorry.
I mean, our combined ages are what, like 150? I mean, we're really old people here, right?
Yeah, 160.
Oh my goodness.
We're all over 50. So
that's true. We are indeed. All right. So after the camp is attacked and everybody runs, everybody scatters, Theo flees, right? We see him. We see his perspective. I'm sorry, we don't see his perspective. We look on him as he looks up, and he's clearly picked up by something very tall. It doesn't take a genius.
Isn't that exactly the same shot that we get when Pippin is picked up by?
Yes, not for the first or last time we get a Jackson shot.
Yeah, we'll get a lot of Jackson shots for sure.
Yes. Episode 4 had quite a few.
So he's gone. He starts calling out for Isildur, and then the search continues. Right. Help me out with this part because I got a little lost. I got a little confused. Arondir encounters that unexpected corpse. Right. He sees the light, and it turns out to be a torch being held by a disembodied hand. Mm-hmm. It looked like, and then he sees that corpse. What am I missing in the significance of that corpse?
Is that what's left of one of the wild men after he's been ripped apart by one of the Ents?
Yeah, I mean,
that's
maybe.
The only thing
I'm just
I
trying
could
to
think
remember
of.
because he says he didn't think that who did this was men, right?
Oh,
or does he say I don't
think
it was orcs? Yeah, he was definitely right. I don't know. I just didn't see enough of it. It was again too dark for me to really notice.
It was dark, and also again, it feels like it was kind of thrown in there. So I'm not sure that it was placed well enough for the narrative to flow.
Yeah, there were a few of those shots this time around, especially in the 4th episode. So back in Pelargir, the argument renews, right? Do we raid the Wildman camps or do we keep searching for Theo? And then Estrid, don't trust her, suggests that they go north, supposedly based on her own experience. Well, that's where so many of the Wildmen are, and I'm sure you're going to find them there. And, of course you will. Of course you're going to find them there. They're going to find you.
Funny that.
Arondir is seeing right through her. You can tell from the very outset. He's like, oh, really? Tell me more. Yeah. So that, of course, is followed immediately thereafter by him exposing her as a member of the Wildman. She's got the mark of Adar on the back of her neck, so she has bowed the knee. She has pledged her loyalty to Adar. And so clearly, she was going to be leading them to more. But now Arondir is going to use her. You're going to lead us to more. Let's talk about the conversation she has with Isildur then after, though. She makes this point that I really had no counter for. Well, would you rather I have died in Mordor?
Mm-hmm.
What choice did these people have?
Yeah, it's not like they were given much of a choice.
No.
Right. We saw quite clearly what happens if you refused the Mark of Adar.
That guy got gutted right in front of everybody else. And then the next guy, well, yeah, of course I'm going to take the knee,
Yeah, exactly.
That's a tough call.
Yeah. No, you completely see her point.
Yeah. What other option did she have? We'll talk more about her. She's an interesting character. I'm curious where they're going to go with her. I don't think we're done with her, even though she's been reunited with this guy at the very end. We'll touch on that, but
I feel like we're getting this. I was almost getting whiplash though. With is she good? Is she bad? Is she good? Is she bad? Is she good? Is she bad? Like it wasn't just
too many
this one-time reveal that she turned out to be a baddie. It was like, okay, she's turned out she's with them. Oh, but no, maybe she is still good. Oh no, she's not. Oh, maybe she still is. And it's
that does get a bit wearing.
It really was. I mean, okay, she's getting rid of the Mark of Adar because she's turning her back on that life. No, she's doing it because she's hiding who she is.
Right.
Then, she's going to rescue them, and she does rescue them. She doesn't run away. But then, later she pulls the sword on Isildur.
Right, right, exactly.
I mean, how many times do we go back and forth? Is she good? Is she not? I mean, Isildur and her were about to have a moment that got interrupted, much to Isildur's chagrin, as we'll talk about later. Clearly, she's got some sort of back and forth, and it's a little too much. You're right. It's a little too...
It was a bit... Yeah, the reversals were just giving me
a gentle ride of up and down, not this completely chaotic...
roller coaster.
I have no idea where we're headed next. Yeah.
All
right, so... Arondir's search continues, right? Theo was not taken by men. He knows, or suspects at least, right? And we know that because he's seen those little flower petals that will end up being very key to the arrival of the Ents. What about this thing that happens next? Tell me why this was relevant and why we needed to have
that's what
this
I was going
moment.
to ask. Why did we even need this? We could have had more of the Shelob setup.
Yeah.
And less of the well, different episode. But yeah, it's not clear to me at all what this was. I don't even think this was fan service. I don't know what the point of it was at all.
I know. Was it a whole way to go just to get a Nameless Things reference?
Surely not.
I hope not.
It wasn't strong enough for that.
Because then it led to a really bad joke.
Yeah.
It led to the one clunker of a humor. Like, I love Arondir. Don't get me wrong. Like we talked about, Arondir is one of my favorite characters on the show.
Yeah. We'll call it dinner.
He's not funny. The character of Arondir is not a comedian.
No.
Don't get me wrong. The actor Ismail is hilarious. He can definitely tell a story and be very funny.
Yeah.
But Arondir is not a comic, and to have him say there are many nameless things under the earth, this one we shall call supper, was just like a groaner.
Yes.
It was silly.
Like,
it was a dad joke. It was terrible. They should have given that joke to Isildur.
And I should know dad jokes. Yes, that was
if they'd
terrible.
given that line to Isildur, that would have worked better.
Yes, it would have, because he's a little bit more irreverent. He's a little bit,
Arondir could have said there are many nameless things, and Isildur's riposte to that could have been, we shall name this supper, and that would have worked so much better.
Yes,
it would have. I actually would have laughed. I wouldn't have thought twice about it. It would have fit. It just totally doesn't fit with Arondir's character.
But the whole mudworm, I was irritated by. I thought it was ridiculous. Is this
why waste my time with this sequence?
Exactly. What was the point of it? I mean, okay, if you want to give Isildur a bit of peril, it could have just been sucky mud, right? Okay, fine.
Quicksand, right.
Right. I mean, we could have found some other way to show that, what's her face wasn't bad. Yes.
That's all it really achieved. All it really achieved was indicating that Estrid.
Pointless. It was almost like, okay, we're now going to turn this into the sandworms at the Battle of the Five Armies that we got from Peter Jackson. I mean,
Shai Hulud.
Why? I mean, why? It was silly. And I thought it was a waste of 5 minutes.
It really was. And now I'm picturing Arondir walking down the riverbed, like not stepping rhythmically. Yeah. Except he steps. Don't draw the worm. And he plants a thumper before they go another 100 yards.
Oh, for goodness sake.
That was awful.
It was awful. It was silly, and no.
And the fact that he bursts out of the body like he's already been consumed? What?
Ridiculous. The whole thing was ridiculous.
Over the top.
Yeah. It reminded me of some of the worst over the top moments from Jackson's films.
Yeah, from The Hobbit in particular.
Oh yeah, skateboarding elves in the Two Towers, the stupid roller coaster ride through Goblin Town in The Hobbit.
The Six Flags over Eriador when the dwarves were in the barrels. And
some of those things were utterly, utterly ridiculous. And this was one of those moments. It was an unnecessary waste of 5 minutes that could have been put to better use.
To much better use. I agree.
Yeah.
Tell us what you really think, Sarah.
I know. I'm like, wow, Sarah, go, girl.
Listen, I am currently hopped up on cold meds. And as I explained to these two gentlemen earlier, before we started recording, my patience level is a slick in the bottom of the bucket of patience. And I have no patience for the mudworm. I thought that was daft.
No, none. James, we're lucky. Did you hear air quotes around the word gentleman? Because I did.
I did. There was a pause. There was a
pregnant pause right there. Before, when I was
so
with
cold.
These two gentlemen,
she was in her head. She was silently saying, "So cold." Yes,
which is totally fair. By the way, I'm not going to criticize her for that.
You see, folks, these two gentlemen know me very well now.
Well, Arondir and Isildur don't know Estrid very well, because Arondir drops a key for her. Apparently her choice to save them and not let them get eaten by the giant worm and not run away moved him. It also moved Isildur, who, come on, let's be honest. Was it a shock to you that he frees her? Not to me.
No,
I mean,
absolutely
he's
not.
a softie. He's got a thing for her, so he frees her. And the tender moment is interrupted when she pulls his sword and says, look, I'm going to be cast out. This is not going to work. We get a tense moment here, right? Arondir draws on her. He's got her in his sights. He's going to put an arrow right through her if she even moves that sword.
Yep.
Ooh. But of course, this moment, and it's a good one, they are interrupted by the arrival of an Ent and Ent wife, and it is spectacular. Let's talk about the Ents. What a scene this was. As much as I'm going to criticize that giant centipede bug thing, I don't even want to. How did it get that big? It must. I mean, it's a humongous predator animal, but it just somehow managed to survive by lying in mud and waiting for random travelers. Anyway.
You're asking for
Don't
logic.
Get me started.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be asking for logic at this point when it comes to the mudworm.
No. But they may have lost me at the mudworm, but they got me back with the Ents. Oh, the movement of the Ents, the voicing of the Ents, it all fit. The first question that they ask Arondir was whether he's ever touched axe to wood in life. Oh, my heart. I just immediately went back to that moment in scene 1.
Yep.
I'm sorry, in series 1.
Yeah.
And he apologizes to that tree.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was brilliant because I found myself sitting there going, oh, if only they knew how, why the circumstances, the context. Like I felt myself jumping to defend.
Yes, same here.
Arondir,
Don't kill him. There's a really good reason, and he didn't want to, and he apologized to the tree. Oh, that was a beautiful callback. Absolutely spectacular. Yes. And that continuing throughout this whole scene, I thought. I just felt like the whole Ent scene was really well done.
Yeah, it was one of the few, dare I say, one of the few good parts of episode 4.
It's a genuine bright spot.
Yeah. It was one of the bright spots. Yeah.
It was, yes. Yeah. I love the fact that the Ent wife was the one who was really angry.
Ooh. She was ticked. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that would be Winter Blossom, right? And then Snaggleroot is the other one. Voiced by a couple of just veteran actors, Olivia Colman voicing Winter Blossom and Jim Broadbent voicing Snaggleroot. Just so well done. They really emoted so well. I could just, even through those crazy processed voices, just you felt the anger and the deep, ages-long hurt in their voices. It was fantastic.
It was one of my favorite moments.
It really was. Absolutely. And I want to break it down a little bit. Let's look at the first moment, right? Snaggleroot sees the sword. He asks, what does it fell? Right. I mean, you could, Arondir's like, no, I see what you're looking at. And it's not,
it's got a sharp edge. It's got a sharp edge. It's not what you think.
Yeah. It's not an axe. It's for felling orcs. And that gets us to hear the news from Snaggleroot about the army that had been burning and hacking its way through the forest. Mm-hmm. And that's when we get that emotional moment you were talking about, Sarah, where your heart just aches because Winter Blossom is, I'm sorry, I said Winter Blossom all along. I've said that. It is Winter Bloom. My apologies, folks. Winter Bloom. Winter Bloom absolutely is just, she's the one who's cared for these trees. You know, we talked about this in The Lord of the Rings, right? We see, I cared for these trees from the time they were just saplings, you know? Mm-hmm. Hundreds and hundreds of years, this was my grove. These were my trees. These were my living family that I cared for. And Winterbloom is just devastated. So let's talk about that moment, right? You know where I'm coming next. The moment where Arondir approaches her.
Yeah, it's like almost killing her children in some ways. I know these are not entings that they're talking about, but it's still that same thing of, you know, I raised these, I planted these, I tended these. Right. And you came through and wrecked them.
I suppose like maybe family pets. I mean, let's say you've got a pair of dogs and you've kept every puppy from the litter and you've got, 8 puppies that you've raised and now they're all old and you come home and somebody has killed them all.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It might as well have been your kids. You're going to be inconsolable. And that's really where Winterbloom is. That's why she's so mad and they're all the same. Kill them all.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She does not have the patience for this. She is absolutely infuriated. Just kill every walking bipedal creature.
Yep.
Orcs, elves, men, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
They're all to blame.
And they are. And Arondir owns it.
Yep.
He doesn't try to justify, doesn't try to excuse it. He asks beautifully, I must add, in such an elvish way, for forgiveness for what they've done.
Yeah.
That moment, I mean, just even thinking about it now, it was so good and so rich and so This is an example of how when the showrunners and writers get it right, they get it right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This felt to me deeply Tolkien.
It did.
It felt, even though this is absolutely made up stuff, it felt deeply right.
Yeah,
And,
that connection between
Arondir's
the elf
approach
and the Ent I thought that was tone perfect.
It really, really was. Obviously, we'd seen that line from Winterbloom in the trailer, forgiveness takes an age. But wow, she begins to extend that. She's like, that age begins now. She doesn't say that, but that's what you get as she hands him that flower. But I also wanted to put that in the context of something we just heard Estrid say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Forgiveness doesn't happen for us. There's a connection to that for sure.
Yes.
And I don't know what we're going to see come from that. But the idea that these men who did serve Sauron, just like the men who'd served Morgoth, remember why Arondir was even in that town to begin with in the first season, was because their ancestors had served Morgoth. I think we're going to see that forgiveness is something that can come to these people. I hope.
I like that idea.
But yeah.
If forgiveness does come to these people, it will have taken an age.
Yeah, it literally will have taken an age. I did want to say, this was something I didn't even put in my notes because I completely forgot about it until we were in this moment. This isn't just an Arondir moment, right? Isildur gets in the conversation a little bit. He says, this is what you're angry about. And, he's kind of on the side. I think Arondir's like, the less you say, the better. Right? This is sort of the Gandalf Pippin moment. Keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
It's better if you don't say anything at all.
It's better if you don't say anything at all. I love that line. This is Isildur. This is the guy who goes and rescues the White Tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And we won't see that for a while.
Ooh. Yeah.
But there is a very important tree in his future that also drops these little pink blossoms, the little petals, the white petals. I just, that came to my mind as I'm seeing that. I'm thinking Isildur and trees are important. And this
perfect.
is definitely foreshadowing that. Really, really that. So well done. Makes my heart hurt a little bit that they can get it so right and yet also still get it so wrong on things like the mudworm and stuff. Like, what?
This is my frustration with season 2, which in some ways has been better than season 1, because the things that they've got right, they've got so much more right than the things that they got right in season 1. But the things that they've got wrong so far in season 2 have been really wrong. And we haven't even touched on Bombadil yet, but we will.
No, I know. We're getting to Bombadil later. Yeah, that's
but
fair.
Some of the things that they have done so far in season 2, my frustration has been that the things they've got wrong have been egregious. And it makes me sad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because actually there are so many things that I enjoy. I mean, you two both know how I feel about the dwarves and Khazad Dûm and things like that. I think they get that absolutely pitch perfect. I adore that. Mm-hmm. Right. And there are other things as well that they have done really beautifully, and I've enjoyed the heck out of it. And then they do mudworms, and I'm just, pass me the whiskey, please. I'm out of here.
Pass me the whiskey, please. Yeah. Let's get that axe out and just get it over with. Arondir promises to see to it this wood is left in peace, and there's that conversation about, do they know peace? That was also really, really good. Yes. I thought that was fantastic, and maybe also will play a role with Estrid and the Men of the South. This idea of peace. So then we get, of course, to the release of the prisoners. Theo's out, and it does seem that there's a little bit of a reunification of he and Arondir, like that anger towards Arondir has thawed.
Yep.
Yeah. At least a détente.
Yeah, definitely. At least that. I mean, he's certainly grateful. He's alive. But when he says, hey, you want to come with me? I'm going to go confront Adar. Theo says he's got promises of his own to keep. What promises are those? Who has he promised anything to?
Maybe his mother, that he would, stay and be the healer for the people.
Be the healer. That's the only thing I can think of.
That's what I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping it's that, because my brain went to, has he done some sort of,
he's sworn something to.
Right. To like.
Don't swear an oath, Theo. Don't swear an oath. Those are always bad.
Yeah, please don't. Yeah. Yeah. If he swears an oath to Isildur, then we know he's doomed to be the king of the dead. But along with Theo, one other guy was released, well, a couple others, but one of them was Hagen, who happens to be Estrid's boyfriend, and Isildur is tossed away like yesterday's garbage.
Yeah.
Well, maybe another time. Poor guy, but that's all right. It's all right. So, because we know that certainly she is not the mother of Isildur's kids. So that's okay. He's not meant to marry Estrid. That storyline is wrapped up, folks. Let's move on to Númenor. Boy, it is going to be a long one because we've still got Númenor, Eregion, Rune, and the Lindon line. Holy smokes, folks. We better step this up. Númenor, we open up with Elendil laying seashells on the tomb of Tar Palantir. I wonder if you pick them up at a little merchant store outside where she sells seashells by the sea.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Very good.
Sorry. I think it's just another one of these, they have a lot of clearly, and why not? Because they're an island, nautical references that the sea is always right was the first thing that came to my mind.
Right.
But this is where Eärien, bitter about Isildur, starts to sow those seeds of discord. And I think we talked about this last time. She's an architect. We made that, they made that very clear in season 1. We talked about the guilds and how our Pharazôn is in charge of all the guilds. She is clearly going to be part of the King's Men, and I think she's going to be the one helping Sauron, or whatever form he's in, is Anatar or whatever, to build the Temple to Morgoth next season.
Yes. Yeah. I would agree with that.
I'm not happy about that. I'm really not happy about that. But that's okay. Somebody has to, right? I mean, we know from Tolkien that the vast majority of Númenorians were, in fact, King's Men. And
yes.
That is to say people who are not elf friends. Not the faithful. I mean, we're not using the phrase Kingsmen yet because there's no king, but we'll get there. So that reverie is broken up by the arrival of Pharazôn and Miriel, and that breathtakingly cool Númenor theme. That might be one of my favorite musical themes in the show. So go Bear. That was great.
Yeah, beautiful.
Let's talk about that a little bit, right? The greeting of Elendil and Miriel. Let's talk through that scene a little bit. What sticks out to your mind in those moments at the ceremony there for Palantir?
Yeah, what stands out for me in this scene is the underlying hum of tension that we get. And you can see it start to rise and rise and rise as the scene goes on. This seed of discord that is being sown in a moment that should have been Miriel's moment. It starts to kind of hum underneath it. That's what I really was picking up, is that you could really sense that tension. You could feel that things were not going to go her way. And you could also feel Pharazôn at the center of that, just gently stirring things. And
expertly stirring them too.
Oh,
did you
yes.
notice how well he played that game?
Yeah.
I'm even thinking going forward when he, after the accusation that she was using the Palantir, but we'll get to that. I just think he's so good at manipulating things.
I was going to say the other thing that's interesting about this scene is the fact that Miriel is blind and needs Elendil to describe things. I think is just really interesting from a narrative point of view because it gives the writers an opportunity to explicitly state things that otherwise either would have been unnatural to say or would have had to have only been hinted at. But in this case, we actually get Elendil being able to describe this Lord Belzegar, and where he's at and whose side he's on. That sort of stuff wouldn't have been. I thought it was just a really interesting technique.
You're right. It would have been either too obvious and forced, or no. That's a very good point. By having her get that description from Elendil, we're given an explanation that would otherwise feel very odd to get.
You're right.
Like the fact that he has Pharazôn's ear. Yeah, we can see that, but really, which way is it? Like she asks, does he have Pharazôn's ear or does Pharazôn have his? All right, so continuing on with that scene, we get a really emotionally powerful confrontation between this Númenorian woman. Now, interestingly, when you click on the little X-ray button, she has a name. It's not just like Númenorian woman. Her name is Niluzor. So she might be a recurring character. She might not, because...
it's been odd who they've named.
Yeah.
It is really inconsistent whether it's dwarf number 3 or Barduk. There's no rhyme or reason to it as far as I can tell.
No, I thought maybe that meant they'd last for a while,
Yeah.
But there's that one elf, I can't remember his name, but he gets a name and then he gets killed.
Well, Kalenwe, the messenger, Kalenwe gets the name Kalenwe.
Yeah. Yeah, weird.
And yet the lawmaster that does the genealogical research for Galadriel is just Elvish lawmaster.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Who knows why?
I don't know how they decide. Yeah.
No,
But anyway,
odd.
she has a name, Niluzor, and the conversation between her and Queen Regent Muriel that's really emotional, and I think is giving Muriel this chance to be to be accessible, to be human, to show that she has a deep love for her people. It's clearly setting her against Pharazôn. And then we move on to an interesting scene with her and she's blind, feeling for her bracelet, that the one that we know will open the door to the place where the Palantir is. That's why she's getting it out. She's hiding it from Pharazôn, who's just rambling on about his father and some wine or something like that. What was there some relevance to that, or was this just like filler so that we could see him talking while she's trying to hide something?
I felt it was filler.
It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, same here. The choice of gown, red or white, it's certainly a code for, king's men or faithful. She makes her choice very well known.
And of course, we're going to find out that Pharazôn shows up wearing red after she chooses white.
Indeed.
I just kept wanting to think, she's blind. You could probably trick her. Elendil's the only one who's going to tell her.
I did wonder if that's what was going to happen. Yeah.
I did too. I thought they were setting that up. Like, well, okay, you want white. That's something Pharazôn would do. So we get the mention of the eagle as an auspicious omen, which is also an auspicious mention of the eagle, because clearly they're setting something up. This is foreshadowing very clearly. I did notice right after that, we got this little outside panning shot, sort of that medium range stuff we talked about that we were critical of season 1 for. We got this shot of sort of like a little part of the Númenorian city as we move down into the lower ward, where we cut to the conspiracy bar. And, that's really what's going on here. We've got Pharazôn, Kemen, his son, the Mr. Bad Haircut himself, Lord Belzegar, and Eärien. And why they're talking so loudly when Valandil, Isildur's best friend, a guy who absolutely would go to the ends of the earth for the queen and for Elendil, is standing right there. You're like, I'm right here, guys. I'm right here. But, and of course they're talking, this isn't just like, oh, we're not big fans of the queen. We're not so sure her policies are going to be great for us. It's more like, how can we usurp the throne? I mean, it's literally overthrowing the government here. Yeah. This is serious stuff. We do get a little well-written confrontation between Valandil and Kemen. I liked that. I did too. That was a fun moment for me. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I think it was good for Valandil. I mean, it was a good character moment for Valandil.
Yes. Yeah, I like his character, and I like the way he's portrayed. I enjoyed him last season as well, and I hope we get to see more of him. But yeah, talking about usurping the throne, and Eärien finally reveals what she knows. It's the Palantir. We saw that at the end of season 1 when she was able to go into that chamber where the Palantir was. And it's interesting. The show does something here that we've not seen it do a lot, which is she's talking about this thing, and at the very moment we're watching Muriel go and find that thing.
Right.
But she discovers that it's gone.
Exactly.
And I thought that was actually another well-done moment of tension and storytelling.
Yes. Because it wasn't a flashback. It was happening simultaneously.
Yeah, exactly. It was simultaneous, and like you said, Sarah, they get it right, and it felt good. It was like, wow, that's clean editing. That's a really good way of telling us the story, and you could sort of feel the heavy emotion that Muriel the fear, the terror that must have been in her mind when she reached for the Palantir and felt just the stone.
Yeah, and again, there's that extra tension because she's not sighted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
If it had just been she pulled the cover away and saw that it was gone, that would be one thing. But the fact she actually reaches, it's visceral, right? I mean, exactly. The absence is, she can feel the absence.
Visceral. Yeah. I thought that was really well done. Then we get to the coronation where I have to say, I think some of the most well done stuff kind of disappeared. I wasn't a huge fan of this scene. It just, a lot of the stuff felt staged. So she goes to the throne, right? The ceremony is supposed to begin, and somebody shouts out, Queen of Lies, she's unfit to rule, and I'm having Princess Bride.
Princess Bride, yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. I was thinking Princess Bride too.
Queen of garbage, Queen of refuse.
Putrescence.
I mean, it just, can you do something other than Queen of Lies? I did like, though, I actually enjoyed this moment, was the high priest explaining the rules. First of all, obviously nobody here cares about the rules. They're trying to overthrow the queen. But he's like, Nobody but the king or queen is supposed to speak during this. And of course, that makes sense.
Yes.
If you look at the Númenorian histories, you read the extra stuff, you learn that there's a very, very similar guideline, a rule, a very strict rule about the ceremonies that are on the top of Meneltarma. 3 times a year, the king ascends, and only the king can speak on Meneltarma. That is it. Nobody else can speak.
Isn't that also a ceremony where the presence of eagles is deemed as auspicious?
As auspicious. Absolutely it is. Yeah.
And I think that's where that concept comes from.
Yeah, I think it does. Because we've got and I'm trying to remember these off the top of my head. Eruhantale, Erukierme, and Erulaitale.
Oh, you're good.
But I don't remember which one was in which season. I know one's like
a prayer. Okay, I'm impressed.
One's Thanksgiving. One's a Thanksgiving. One's
like basically a harvest. Yeah. One's a prayer, and one is praise. Laitale, of course, is praise, as you would expect. I think Kierme, Erukierme, I think is the Thanksgiving one. I can't recall. But those are the only 3 times that anybody speaks on the Meneltarma. So I did sort of enjoy that little throwback to, some of the deeper lore. Every once in a while, they throw us a bone and it actually feels good rather than forced. That was one of those moments.
Yes.
But then, after Muriel gets some decent lines here, talking about bonding with her people and, for whom do you cry out? Everything feels good. But then it kind of goes off the rails when Eärien cries out and the drama begins, the chaos. It just doesn't feel quite, I don't know. Were you sold on the chaos?
No, I wasn't sold on it at all. I thought it was really forced and it just didn't feel right to me, the way in which it was done. The whole thing, if you go back to what Tolkien actually wrote about Pharazôn and Miriel, and admittedly is not very much, is that Pharazôn never allowed Miriel to get this close to the scepter anyway.
No way.
No. But, it's like they have to create some kind of tension, because what they don't seem to want to do is simply have Pharazôn be an appalling person who forces Miriel to marry him, his cousin, against her will. They don't seem to want to do this. Instead, they want him to be some kind of politician who's manipulating this. I mean, I get him as a manipulator, sure.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not really how Tolkien wrote him. He was written as a truly unpleasant person who was all for taking slaves and colonizing and forcing his cousin to marry him so he could take the throne from her. Here it seems to be, we've got a blind queen who led us into a war, and so I'm your guy. It just felt so flat to me. And then why didn't the eagle just peck him straight off that ledge?
Oh my goodness, the eagle, and we'll get to the eagle, but boy, I got to say with Pharazôn, I hope that they do get to some of those things you mentioned, right? The colonization
I hope so.
And the taking of slaves. I hope that we'll see that when he does eventually, as he's clearly going to do, ascend to the throne.
If we don't see that, then how are we going to understand why Númenor needs to sink?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I am looking forward. I will say this. Yes, that's not how Tolkien wrote him. He didn't write him as this manipulator. 2 things about that. One is that Tristan Gravel is doing a fantastic job of playing that, right?
Yes.
I mean, I may be criticizing the way Pharazôn's written, but Tristan is off the charts on it.
Yes.
And number 2, it's going to be interesting to watch manipulator Pharazôn get utterly destroyed by manipulator Sauron.
Yeah, that would be fun.
He will have met his match,
But again, this is going to be classic textbook Sauron manipulator.
Yeah.
We know, and I hope it plays out exactly like this in the show, but in the books, Sauron does it by letting Pharazôn think he's won.
Mm-hmm.
Letting
exactly right.
Pharazôn think, I've captured Sauron, I'm going to take him back. Yeah.
I am top dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic if that's the way they roll with that. But yeah, it just doesn't feel right the way this is set up currently.
Although, can I just say that raises interesting questions about the appearance of Sauron when he is captured by Pharazôn, because Pharazôn has met him before.
Yes.
So we're getting back to that problem that we were worried about with Halbrand and Annatar.
That's a good point.
They're going to have to somehow sort that out again. So maybe they're going to change the casting at that point. I don't know.
I don't know. I gotta say, Charlie Vickers owns Sauron. So
I agree, but they're gonna have the same issue we were worried they were going to have with Celebrimbor. Yeah,
that's a good point. So of course we do get another excellent. We get another excellent example of Pharazôn's manipulation. After Arion cries out for Isildur and says, "This Elfstone is your queen," Pharazôn doesn't say, "That's right, we must remove her from power," like you'd think he would. He says, "Oh, that can't possibly be true. Númenor's true ruler would never do this." I mean,
yes,
he's supposedly defending the queen, but he knows exactly.
Listen to his words. Yes, the true ruler would not use this. Yeah. Implication is if it turns out she did use it, then shouldn't be the true ruler.
Yeah, he's really, really good at this. And it's not so much the Pharazôn and Miriel thing that doesn't feel right. It's just the way the crowd it just feels flat. It felt like, all right, guys, you're going to yell at the queen. Can you guys call her like a queen of lies and stuff? It just felt really, a little amateurish in terms of the crowd scene. Not quite buying it. And I'm sorry, I feel bad when I criticize the show a little bit like that, because I know these people are pouring their effort into it, and I appreciate that. But sometimes it just doesn't quite land right, and this is one of those moments.
I agree.
The eagle, though. Let's talk about the eagle. He comes in, and of course, obviously, he had to have been dispatched long before, so he was here for Muriel's coronation.
Mm-hmm.
And it sure looks to me like I love the way the eagle's like, "Are you idiots? I'm not here for this guy. Are you listening to him?"
Yeah. Once he finds out what's happened, the eagle's out of there.
The eagle's like, "You guys are nuts, man. I am done. I got to talk to Manwë now."
Yeah, but he could have nipped Pharazôn's head off, and we would be nice. End of the story. Chomp. Thank you very much.
I think they might have some sort of, maybe going back to the Star Trek some sort of non-intervention policy.
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, the eagle can't actually say anything, even though eagles can speak. Like, the eagle can't do what he really wants to do, which is say, "People of Númenor, your queen Miriel will restore you, and this is the right way to go. You all should hang Pharazôn from the nearest gallows." He can't say that, and he can't bite Pharazôn's head off, as nice as that would be. But yeah, the look on his face when Belzegar starts chanting Pharazôn is, "Are you kidding me? You
if
think
eagles
that's why
could
I'm
look
here?"
Disgusted, then that eagle looked disgusted.
He kind of did a double take, like, "What now?
What?"
Oh man. And yeah, we end with Pharazôn appearing to have successfully usurped the throne of Númenor. We'll find out. I think that's going to be what leads us into that scene we saw in the trailer, the sea worm and Miriel going in and facing the sea worm. Because the sea is always right. We'll see how that goes. But before it becomes the next day, since we have been going for so long, let's move on to the next storyline in Eregion. And we actually don't get as much here as you might have thought, right? We had all that wonderful Annatar, Celebrimbor stuff last time. This time we do still have some, but it's really a relatively short scene. It's a meeting between Celebrimbor, Annatar, Durin, and Disa. This is after, of course, the dwarves had received that invitation from Celebrimbor. And he explains to the dwarves, look, the rings of power could heal your mountain, just like the elven rings restored the tree, just like we talked about. Sauron's making the need and making the answer to the need. I hate this part in the sense that I'm going to have to accept that they think Mithril is far more something than I do, but they are wed to this, so I'm not going to get away from it. I just don't have to like it. I'm still hoping beyond hope that they will eventually reveal the Mithril thing is just a trick and that it's just a really useful metal like Tolkien wrote it to be, but we'll see.
Yep.
Let's talk about that. Mithril for the rings is the deal. Yeah, I mean, that fits with what we know about Sauron because we know he absolutely craves Mithril. There's a line in A Journey in the Dark in Fellowship of the Ring where Gandalf's talking about Mithril, like how it was found, what it is, its elvish name, how valuable it is, etc. He says something there that of what they brought to light, talking about the dwarves that delved too deeply, right? Of what they brought to light, the orcs have gathered nearly all and given it in tribute to Sauron, who covets it. So clearly, this is related to Sauron's coveting of Mithril. And I wonder, maybe that's how they get out of this foolishness too. Like, this is Sauron's attempt to get all the Mithril. And then we're going to discover that the origin story of Mithril was never true and that its life-giving abilities were never true. This is all just Sauron and his deception. and it's just because he liked Mithril because it's shiny.
Yeah, but you know what I worry
you guys
about?
Can fix it.
You know what
What's
I worry about? I think that's too clever a solution, and we're just going to get Mithranium. It's just going to be Mithranium.
It is Mithranium. Yeah. I agree. It's a great scene, this scene between the four of them, because Anatar, who is sort of drunk on his own power, he's like, ooh, look at how good I am at seducing Celebrimbor. I can get him to do whatever I want. He totally overestimates his charisma. And he rolls a natural 1, and Durin is totally underwhelmed. It's perfect, and it fits with what we know about the dwarves when they do get the rings, right? They are not as corrupted as men. They are not as easily deceived. They are very, tough in that sense. I love that moment, though, right? He tries to pull the Elrond card.
Oh, that's just funny.
You're the wisest of the dwarves.
And he knows that's not true because
he knows
never
that's
compliment him.
What? Yeah, he knows that's total BS.
Total BS. It's a line too far. It's sort of like when Melkor is talking to Feanor, and at the very end he's like, "And the Silmarils, they wouldn't be safe either." And Feanor's like, "Well, now I see through you. You're toast. Get out of here, you jailcrow of Mandos. You took the game one step too far." And I think that's what happens here.
Yeah.
Anatar takes the game one step
You were doing so well right up to that point.
Yeah, and then you weren't.
He tried playing the game that did work with Celebrimbor.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because Celebrimbor had the ego. Mm-hmm. He wanted to be recognized. That doesn't seem to be a motivation for dwarves.
No, at least not for Durin. Not
he doesn't want to be considered the wisest of the dwarves by Elrond.
And he knows Elrond would never say that. So it's, of course, going to taint the entire conversation for him. He's like, okay, I know he was absolutely blowing smoke on this one, which means there's not a thing he said that I can count on. But even with that being the case, even with Disa believing him that Anatar was lying, it doesn't matter. Disa's point is like, look, even if there's just this tiny sliver of a chance to save our people, we've got to take it to the king.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She's not wrong.
No, she's not wrong. Disa's never wrong. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Disa's never wrong. That's true. I forget. Yep. She's your queen. She's our queen. Everybody hail Queen Disa.
And so she should be. Yep.
That's right. So we come back to Anatar and Celebrimbor. Anatar's working more of that magical manipulation with Brimby here, including setting him against Gil-galad on the creation of the rings themselves. This is so good. Talk to me about this. How in the world is he pulling this off? Celebrimbor is the most unbelievably easily manipulated guy I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's got handles. Like you just grab the handle and turn him. Yeah.
It's because Sauron Anatar knows everything he needs to know about how Celebrimbor ticks. He knows where his weaknesses are. His weakness is in his ego, in his sense of place. It's all about wanting to be seen as skillful as Feanor. And that is such a weakness that is so easily manipulated, and he does it beautifully.
He really does.
It's interesting. It occurs to me that this is yet another case of somebody trying to live up to, in this case, grandparent rather than parent expectations, but it plays out completely differently because it's not that Celebrimbor wants to make Feanor proud.
No,
it's a much more egotistical.
It is.
I want other people to think of me like they think of Feanor.
Yeah, I want to be as important historically as Feanor was. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I have this legacy that I want to live up to, not because I want to honor him, but because I want to be him. I want to be known as this great craftsman. And that's exactly what it comes down to, right? This is my moment. He will not take it away. I mean, no wonder we see in the trailer, and maybe this is another episode, maybe there's another 3 or 4 episodes away, when Celebrimbor says, "What have you done to me?"
Yes.
He is going to come to the realization that all of this has been manipulation, and he is going to be devastated. Oh, it's going to be a heavy moment, but
looking forward to it, though.
At the end of the 3rd episode, where this storyline ends for us, we see the forging of the 7 dwarven rings as the mithril is dropped into the crucible. But I got to ask you all, Celebrimbor hands it to Anatar. He looks like he's some sort of magician, like palming it, but then he does drop it in.
I'm glad you said that because I noticed that too. It does look like he's palming it. and putting something else in.
Yes, that's what I thought
totally
too.
looks like that. Well, yeah, because he takes it in one hand and then passes it to his other hand before dropping it in.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you
there.
brought that up because that didn't seem right to me either.
Yeah, that seemed to me, like he's definitely taking it for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if he tried to, I don't know, switch it out for something that isn't mithril, the dwarves are going to know that instantly because they know whether they're holding something made of mithril or not, right? But I think because what the writers have done is they've said that 3 elven rings are okay because Anatar Sauron didn't touch them. I think here is, okay, these won't be okay because he has actually touched them. So I think we're seeing them emphasizing that this is something
it's the
different.
physical touch. That's why Celebrimbor didn't drop it in, but it's why he did.
Right.
But the palming of it is so weird to me. Like it just felt like a cheap magician's trick. And, what has he done with this? Has he somehow, I don't know. I guess we'll find out at some point. Folks, we still have 2 storylines to go through, and we will get to them after the break. All right, so thanks for bearing with us this long, folks. Appreciate it. And now we're going to get to a line that I think we all have, a storyline that we all have a few gripes with, and that's the Stranger, Harfoot's, Rune, Tom Bombadil thread. And we're going to start with the second scene in episode 4. Brings us back to the Stranger. He's separated from Nori and Poppy, and he comes across a guy wearing yellow boots and singing by the name of Tom Bombadil.
Goat farmer.
Yeah, a goat farmer. Who names one of his goats, by the way, Yarwine, which is actually his name, but we'll get to that.
It's a lamb. It's a lamb, not a goat. It's a lamb.
That's true. It's a lamb, not a goat. It's a lamb. My bad.
So oh boy, that was terrible. Oh, you are kidding me.
That was right up there. We shall call it supper.
I was going to say, that's like something Arondi would say.
Oh, you are kidding me.
Oh.
Thank you. That took a while, but thank you.
When you're hanging out with the goat, what do you expect?
Oh.
Greatest of all time.
People who are listening, we apologize for the terrible dad jokes, but hey, it was funny.
We apologize for those responsible. For
all right, so before we actually learn that he's Tom, the Stranger follows this flying scrap of paper until he spots a branch. He tries to break the branch off. He gets Old Man Willowed.
Yes.
It's like sucked into the tree. I don't know about you, but my first thought was, Old Man Ironwood.
So there's presumably an old man every variety of tree.
Yeah, there might be an Old Man Maple.
Collect the whole series, right?
Yeah, collect the series. Old Man Maple, Old Man Cedar, Old Man Birch.
Oh, good grief.
And then don't forget, Old Man Larch. That's Old Man Larch. There's a deep Monty Python cut for you all right there. Yes. So he gets Old Man Willowed into the tree, which is like, why does Tom set up shop near carnivorous trees everywhere he goes? That's what I want to know. Are they his pets? Is this his alarm system? Does he set up security by finding a demonically possessed evil tree that will eat people?
This was so silly.
We'll get to that. It felt forced. It felt like, all right, we're going to do Tom. We got to do Tom. We're going to pick up the entire freaking old forest and move it to Tenerife where they shot this.
Yes.
and we're going to have Tom saying the exact same things he says in the book, but to somebody thousands of miles away.
Why?
Drink deep, sleep, and Anyway, he gets Old Man Willowed. It felt really odd, like that's just a yard decoration. I'm going to go down to the evil Huorn store and find myself an Old Man Cedar for this house. I feel like it's an Old Man Cedar house. Anyway, we're going to come back to that. Let's jump over to Nori and Poppy because I think we'll dump all of our Tom sentiments in one conversation. So Nori and Poppy awake. They don't know where they are. They discover they're being followed. Then they encounter another halfling by the name of Merrimack, who is a Stoor, and I love it. He's played by an actor, I hope I don't mispronounce his name, Gavi Singh Chera, who was rumored to have been one of the Sauron forms. Remember when he was identified
Yes,
as
I
a
remember
Monarch of
that.
Sauron? Total
Which
false
is hilarious.
leak. It was hilarious. And here he is, like this just goofy store who calls himself nobody.
Which actually, no, other people call him nobody.
Other call him nobody. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
His mom calls him Merrimack.
Right. I adored him.
I did too. I thought he was great with his crazy hair. And, it was fantastically done. The Stewards, of course, live in holes. So we're starting to get more hobbity as we move into this next subset of hobbits. And what do you make of the leader's name, Gundabale? Are we looking at an example of a foreign language root making its way in? Tunnel, Gund.
Right.
Felagund. It comes from a dwarven root.
Right.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's the Felagund, the hewer of caves, comes from a dwarven root that got borrowed into Sindarin to make Finrod Felagund's name. And I'm wondering, I said it's
That's
Felagund,
presumably
but really it's Felagund.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting. I thought we've got a little word nerdery here, but I don't know if it's intentional. It's really subtle if it is. I wouldn't put it past him.
I think it probably is intentional.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think so. I think they.
Because even when they use names like Mirdania, they at least get the Mir part right. So they're drawing on certain morphemes and so. This must be intentional.
Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about here is tunnels. You know, it's Gund like in
because
Felagund.
Because they
and of course she explains all this before she ties them up.
Right.
We cut to the Galdrim explaining to the Dark Wizard, and oh boy, yeah. Oh, that was a tough one, wasn't it, Sarah? Because remember you talked about you were hoping he was Camul the Easterling, and then he talks about. Well, we get that with Tom.
It's Tom that reveals it. Not
it's Tom that
not
reveals
in this
that, not
scene,
the Dark Wizard himself.
Yes, but I would like to express my annoyance about that.
Noted.
Yes. I mean, the only thing that can rescue this for me is that he turns out to be a blue wizard who went east and went bad.
Yes, that I need them both to be blues.
Yes, exactly.
But they're not going to be.
They're not going to be, are they? It's going to be Gandalf and freaking Saruman, and this does not make sense.
You know, they said that instead of the staff, she calls it a gand.
Yes,
and then when they talk about this person, you know, have you seen this tall person? Oh, an elf? No, he's really tall. Tall. Oh, a grand elf, like Gandalf. I mean, could it be more on the nose and more? Oh.
But it makes no sense whatsoever for this Dark Wizard to be Saruman on so many levels. No. But here's one simple level, right? Gandalf still trusted Saruman, at least up to a point, until Saruman imprisons him in Isengard. He went to him to ask his counsel. Why would he do that if thousands of years before that he'd encountered him in Rhûn and he was a bad guy?
And he had to defeat him because Tom Bombadil told him he had to defeat
him. Come on. Please, do not make him Saruman. I will spit feathers.
Make him Saruman, folks. I want to see Sarah spit feathers. This is going to be fun.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
So we do get that brief conversation between Brank, the Galdrim, who explains, look, the stranger's far more powerful than we thought. Right? He created this sandstorm out of nothing. My men are dead, but I will capture the Harfoots. And then, you know, right before he's dismissed by by the Dark Wizard, you know, he's saying, I swear on my life that I'll do this. Well, I guess you're dead. I mean, really, I think that's foreboding. We'll find that out. But that's when we get the extended scene with Tom. We cut back to this thread. He's introduced himself now, right? He tells his name, but he says it in a very interesting way. Like, well, back in the Withywindle, I'm known as Tom Bombadil. Something along that. I mean, that's kind of what he says, but he's talking about back in the Withywindle. Back in the Withywindle.
But that doesn't. Yeah.
Why would you have? What? Why would you have left Why would you have left the home that you had? Like you had this really small little realm. You know, I mean, it's made clear that he's got this realm that was once bigger. It's now smaller. Was this his summer home? Is this where he winters? I mean,
once again, I think you are expecting logic where there is none.
Yeah. Speaking of logic, where we get none. We hear Goldberry singing.
Yes.
But she's not there, and Tom's playing some weird game about that.
Yeah, unless it's the lamb singing. You know, it's Yarwain the lamb that's singing.
Yarwain the singing lamb.
Yes. Good grief.
Yarwain the singing lamb. I love it. But then we get this conversation that is lifted straight out of the pages of Fellowship of the Ring.
Yep.
I'm eldest. I remember the days before the stars. Maybe my accent's a little better, Sarah. We'll have you talk about the accent problem. Tell me who you are, alone, yourself, and nameless. And these are lines straight out of Fellowship, but ripped of all context. Bereft of context, the words were strange.
Oh, yes, in the East, where the words are strange and the storylines are strange and the accents of those characters are strange.
Bingo. And now I've just set you up. Tell us, Sarah. Because I, as an American who can barely tell the difference between an Alabama accent and a Boston accent, I've got no clue as to the wide variety of accents in the British Isles. Talk to me about these accents.
I have no clue what happened here because, first of all, Rory Kinnear is a superb actor. He's absolutely brilliant, right? Mm-hmm. I was expecting better than this, and I'm very disappointed because when Tom Bombadil starts speaking, he's somewhere in Essex, in terms of accent, Essex, just north of London. And then he wanders rather quickly across to somewhere in Devon, and West Country, and then he heads up north to Lancashire, where he's got very flattened, slightly northern vowels. Wanders a little further east to make it a bit more Yorkshire, goes back down to the West Country and hits Somerset. Occasionally drops back into Essex just for funsies. And I am really confused as to where he thinks Tom Bombadil is from. I mean, I know he's a wanderer, not a warrior, but this is kind of ridiculous because his accent was wandering everywhere.
And folks, we're just going to end the episode right here because perfection no longer only exists in Valinor.
I mean, thank you for coming to my TED Talk, but what was that? That to me was really, really strange because, as I said, Rory Kinnear is an excellent actor. I have never seen him in anything where he was less than pitch perfect. And this was just, did somebody say to him, I don't care where in England you come from, try them all out for size. I think the only one he didn't seem to do was Scouse and Geordie and maybe a little bit, he didn't go to Norfolk. There wasn't much of an Eastern accent there. But he went everywhere else.
It wasn't just the accent for me, though. I felt like it was missing any of the joy. And I was just not what I was expecting at all. And we'd come off such a perfect rendering of Círdan.
Yeah.
Especially in the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Forget the shaving episode bearded Círdan. Was so perfect. I was looking forward to seeing them do the same thing with Tom Bombadil. Yeah. And it just didn't. So maybe my expectations were high. I mean, as Sarah said, wonderful actor. But it just didn't feel like Tom to me.
No, it didn't.
That's tough.
It didn't at all. Yeah, it was all wrong for me. They didn't capture a sense of Tom. You could tell, because I was listening for it, when he was speaking a lot of his lines to the stranger, you could see that they were trying to inject into that the same rhythmical, poetic notation that he has in the Fellowship. Right? Yeah. That same kind of...
Tell me who are you, alone, yourself, and nameless, was very sing-songy, and, they got some of that in there, but not as much as I would have thought.
No, and I thought that instead what they did was they kind of lost a lot of that rhythm. It was occasionally there and then mostly wasn't. No, I was thoroughly disappointed by the appearance of Tom Bombadil. At the moment, I'm struggling to figure out why we have Bombadil at all.
Well, we have him because he is the Obi-Wan Kenobi to Luke Skywalker's stranger. He's the guy who's going to give him the mission and teach him how to do, how to wield a lightsaber.
It's a challenging issue, though, right? Because I think we needed somebody to guide Gandalf. I mean, the stranger. Who could it be, right? It has to be somebody that knows more, has more experience.
Not too many people are going to know more than Amaya. That's fair.
Right. So unless you, put one of the Valar there, I think they were in a difficult situation once they decided that the stranger was going to go on this journey to discover himself and find out how his powers work.
Usually people do that when they're 19 and right out of high school and they spend a year in Europe. But, you know, he's gone to ruin.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Tom doesn't do that sort of thing. He doesn't teach people. He doesn't guide it. Yes.
No, he doesn't leave. He doesn't go places. He's the ultimate homebody. He doesn't care about enough things to teach anybody. Right. I mean, you think about what Elrond says. Oh, if this is the same guy we're talking about, Yarwine Ben-Adar, that would be a bad idea to take the ring back to him because he basically doesn't give a damn. He'll look at it as a little trinket, and one of these days he's going to lose it. He's going to forget where he put it.
Yeah.
And even if he held on, all it's going to be is the last place that gets taken over. You know, it's not a good place to put it. Bad idea. And that's because he just doesn't care enough.
Instead, he turns out to be this person in the middle of the desert who's going to hand out wisdom and guidance and, yes, be Obi-Wan Kenobi. And magic staffs. And please don't do that.
No.
I don't know why they've done that.
I don't know if I was quite as disappointed as you are, Sarah, only because your level of disappointment is like measured on the Richter scale. I'm
visceral.
It really is. Because I probably didn't pick up on the accent bit. I mean, I picked up on some strangeness, but I don't know enough of the regions to be able to identify that. As anybody who's listened to my rambling, wandering accents on the PPP can certainly attest. But I'm also not a professional actor. I was definitely disappointed in how lifted he felt. Like just pulled right out and put someplace else, missing all of that context.
Yep, copy-pasted.
Exactly, copy-pasted, and then given a role that's totally contrary.
Yeah.
You know, the Obi-Wan Kenobi role. Because here's my thing. I have no problem with them making stuff up out of whole cloth. I love that, right? We've talked about how some of their best characters are people like Arondir and Disa, characters that we don't know anything about because they don't really exist in Tolkien's world. But when they do tackle a character that there is plenty of lore on, please do it right. Because when you mess those up, it's really hard for people who grew up with the books, love the books deeply, want to see these characters. I do have to say in all of this, as we criticize them for the way that Tom's been portrayed, kudos to them for having the courage to do Tom Bombadil. I will at least give them that because it's like the third rail of Tolkien adaptations. Don't touch it. And yet they have, and I am proud of them for making that attempt, and I'm hopeful that things will turn around a little bit. I did like some of it. I did actually feel some of that carefreeness, James, that you said you didn't feel. I felt some of that sort of.
Well, no, I carefreeness, yes, but without the joy.
Yeah, a little bit of that.
It felt more a bit like he didn't care. Like there's a difference between, you know what I mean? I could care less. I mean, there's a difference there. He just didn't seem to have that jovial.
Yeah, there wasn't quite enough joviality. That's a very good way of putting it.
I agree that he had a certain amount of unhingedness that I appreciated, that I quite liked.
Yeah, I definitely liked that.
But it was not done in as much of a happy-go-lucky kind of way. It was a little almost sinister at times.
A little bit.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know, the conversation with the stranger and Tom gets heavy really quick, right? In terms of like what the role is. We learned very quickly that he is here basically to light a fire under Gandalf, under the stranger, and help him to take on.
We're going to do that all the time now.
Saruman and the Dark Wizard and Sauron. But this is also where we finally put the idea of the Dark Wizard as Camul the Easterling to rest. Rip Camul the Easterling.
Yeah.
You know, you're not the first Istar who's eaten honey by my fire. I'll also say that sounds like a really terrible euphemism, but
it really does, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? I mean,
you did what now? Does Goldberry know?
Yeah, exactly. Was Goldberry involved? Because we definitely are concerned here.
Oh, that would get sticky very quickly.
By my fire. Oh,
lol.
It's terrible.
So instead, we've got Strange Delph and Sarudark.
Yeah.
Right?
Strange Delph and Sarudark. I love it. Strange Delph and Sarudark. So the pieces are coming together, right? The Dark Wizard wants more power. Yes, he's consolidated a base here in Rune, but he wants more, and he can only gain that power if he allies with Sauron. Tom's pretty serious about the consequences of them teaming up, right? If these two fires become one, there's going to be no end to the burning. What accent was that?
God knows.
There'll be no end to the burning in Middle Earth. I don't remember what.
I have no idea by this point. Yeah, somewhere in the West. Yeah.
Somewhere in the West. Okay.
Yes, generic West Country person.
It was so like I'm going to have to listen to that again, understanding that a little better, because I don't have that inherent knowledge, being here in California. California, man. I mean, I don't understand anything about accents because Californians, we don't have any accents, bro. I don't know what you're talking
sure
about.
You don't.
It's just your opinion.
It's just your opinion, man. It is funny when I talk to somebody who's like from New York or New Jersey and they don't have like that really heavy New York accent, I'll be talking to, where are you from? Oh, I'm calling from New York. You sound like a normal person. I almost want to say, and then I'm like, wait, no, I better not say that. So this wanderer, not a warrior, I'm a lover, not a fighter, ends up telling the stranger that it is his job to stop both these guys. You've got to stop the two most evil, most powerful entities, and you don't even know your name. Wow.
Doderic.
His name is Doderic.
Yeah, his name is Doderic, or Strange Dalf now. I think we should just call him Strange Dalf.
Strange Dalf. Dodralf. Gandric.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've got all sorts of options before us. We cut at that point in this thread. We come back to it, and this is when Goon says, well, sorry. I mean, we know you're short like us, but you don't belong, and you're out. Then she mentions Sadok. She mentioned specifically Sadok Burrows.
Yeah.
And we get an origin story that I thought was really interesting, except for one grammatical thing that I'm going to be very pedantic about.
Oh,
but we'll get.
Please do.
You're being pedantic, but
I am being pedantic, but that's come on.
I know what you're gonna. I know.
You know, because you're a word guy just like me. Actually, you're more of a word person than me. So she talks about streams of cold water. This vision that he had: streams of cold water, rolling hills so soft that a family could dig a hole and live in it in less than a month. Well, that's assuming that you get the permitting process and that the zoning regulations don't get overbearing. But yeah, basically a habitable place. And you're like, ooh, that sounds like a place I know. And then we get it right on the nose. He called it the Suzat. Now, I'm going to get word nerdery on you.
Excellent.
Suza is the Westron word. It means province or sphere of occupation or division of a realm. That's what. Now, remember, folks, when you read English in The Lord of the Rings, you're actually reading a translation from Westron. Westron is this language that is not Sindar. It's not Sindarin. It's not Quenya. It's not the Rohirric. It's not Old English. It is the language that's the common language spoken by all the people. So, okay. The word Suza, Westron word for province, sphere of occupation, division of a realm. We see that in Appendix F, which is on translation. So Tolkien's explaining, this is why I did this. This is how I did this. And we see Suza in the Westron name of the Shire. The actual name of the Shire isn't called the Shire. It's called Suzat. Suzat. So she talks about Sadok Burrows' ancestor calling this place the Suzat. Well, that's the thing. But the interesting thing here is that the Westron name for Shire is Suza, but the definite form of it, the Shire, is Suzat. So she should be calling it the Suza or just Suzat. He called it Suzat, or he called it the Suza. Calling it the Suzat is like saying that Sadok Burrows' ancestor called it the Shire. Just there you have it. I know I'm being a pedant, but it's the Shire. The Suzat is a redundancy. The Shire. Okay, I'm done. You had your accents. I have my definite articles.
I had no problem with that at all, and I'm the linguist. But anyway,
I did love the reference, though. I have to say, as much as
except now we've got Battlestar Galactica.
Oh yeah,
yes, we do. We do.
This is total Battlestar Galactica, right? This mythical,
right.
mythical place where the different colonies are going to come together finally.
You're so right.
Right. It's the first thing I thought of, right? It's this whole, we just got to follow the trail and we're going to end up coming to this.
Oh my gosh, you're so right.
Fabled place.
All right. So who's Starbuck? That's what I want to know.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Man. Wow. Yeah.
Well, clearly it's Nori.
In the 80 version or the 2004 version, because Dirk Benedict and Nori don't really look that much alike. But
you were thinking of the 2004 version. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I prefer the later version.
I grew up watching the 1980 version.
Yeah.
I still remember that one where they actually intercepted the 1969 broadcast of the landing on the moon. That was one of the most cool moments in television I'd ever seen at that point.
But they missed it. Weren't they?
Well, they missed it. You're hearing it as the viewer. Yeah.
Yeah. And they completely missed the proof of where Earth was.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You were like, no.
Yeah.
But it was so cool to play that real part of history on a television show about a fictional. Oh, it was so cool. But you're right. I didn't even see that, but you're 100% right. This is Battlestar Galactica. And we're going to find when they eventually run into the Falahide, something similar there as well, I'm sure.
Right.
My goodness. I do like, though, how the Wandering Song is connected to all of this. I really thought that was interesting, and it makes me want to go back and look much more extensively at the lyrics and at how it appears in the show.
And in fact, I think it resolved. This is another case where something that didn't quite work for me turned out to be better than I thought.
Yes.
Because when we talked about it in the last episode, that the Wandering Song seemed odd. Of why would they be singing this song when they're going in the wrong direction and all this kind of stuff? But now it does make sense because of this origin story. So that was a nice part of this episode.
That really was. I also liked. I liked the casting of the Stewards. I liked Goon. I liked Mary Mac, and poor Goon. She sure got tossed down there at the end of the storyline when the Gowdrum arrived. I liked how the one, it was sort of a bad cop, good cop, right? The one guy smacks her to the ground, the other guy extends her hand, and she wants nothing to do with it. She just stands up and stands her ground, right? You know, the only ones, the only people around here are stewards.
Yes.
But we do get a cryptic mention of whatever it is the Dark Wizard did to the Gowdrum.
Yes.
What do you think it is? It's a curse in their flesh. We know that, but what is it?
Right.
Yes.
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah. I still want it to be werewolves.
Yeah, I know, I do too. But I know, I do too. I really want it to be that they look like Michael J. Fox and Team Werewolf when they take the mask off. Let's move on. Believe it or not, after well over 2 hours into this, we're going to move into the Lindon, Galadriel, and Elrond thread. We open episode 4 with Elrond and Galadriel talking about their upcoming mission, right? Elrond tasks Galadriel with finding some skilled warriors. You can do this, right, Galadriel? You can find us an archer and a couple of swordsmen. It's a real tense moment. She does not want to be the lieutenant. She does not want him to be in charge. There's a real tension there. And then we see the group lead. She finally, says, all right, fine, I'll do it, right? She sort of humbles herself a little bit. I don't think she's thrilled with it, but she agrees to do the job. And then they head southeast from Lindon towards Eregion. So if you look at a map, folks, of Middle-earth, Lindon is on the west coast. It's basically just to the west of the Shire. It runs kind of a north-south region. It's split in two by the Gulf of Lune. Eregion is to the east, but also a little bit to the south. So it appears, though, from the map that they are crossing the Brandywine at where the Brandywine Bridge is. I mean, if you look at the map, you see Lake Evendim and the Branduin River making that curve to the east before it comes south, and you see the markings of the old forest.
Yep.
That's not the geography of this land, so I'm a little confused by that. The idea of some impassable gorge.
Because that was deep. That was
deep. I mean, 1,000 feet deep.
Right.
And that's not where the Branduin never gets into a chasm that deep.
It looked awesome.
It did. It looked really cool. It was really neat. Very impressed. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Let me look at that map again. That doesn't make any sense at all. The map-bearing elf, who has a name, I think we find out later his name is Handman. Kamnir is actually his name. Kam is a prefix that we see in one of Baron's nicknames. Actually, two of his nicknames. Erkamion, which means the one-handed, and Camlost, which I think basically means kind of the same thing, right? Missing hand or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly the translation, but they're both related to his hand. I mean, Cam is just his hand, so that's what that is. So Map Man, Cam Man, whatever his name is, he explains that in order to get around this place, if we're going to try to get Eregion from here, we've got two choices. We either go north, which would add 2 weeks to their journey. That leads me to ask this question. Is this the only place to cross the Branduin between here and Lake Evendim? I mean, good heavens, 2 weeks, man. Are you kidding me?
There's the Buckleberry Ferry, but
that's 20 miles from here. I wonder how Tom would say that line, because the accent might not work for Tom. It's 20 miles. Yeah. So they either go north, and obviously the way that they say that it would add 2 weeks to our journey, then you're like, oh, well, whatever they say next, door number 2 is where they're going. And where are they going? Through the hills of Turin Gorthad. Now, I just stopped for a moment because I've always pronounced it Turin Gorthad, but then I had to look that up. James, can you explain? It is Turin, isn't it? That Y.
It's the umlauted U in German.
Okay.
You also get it in French. It's an U sound. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Tolkien explains that it's like the sound in hue.
Yeah, it's in Welsh
and
too.
In Welsh.
Yeah, it's in Welsh. That's right.
Yeah. In Welsh, the Y sound is an oo sound, not an e
So
sound.
the only reason in English that we ever pronounce Y as an eat sound is because of Greek. In ancient Greek, it was oo as well.
Okay.
But what started to happen 2,000 years ago, maybe,
did they have a great vowel shift too?
They did a massive. So almost half the vowels in Greek became e in modern Greek.
Huh.
So it's why somebody like Dimitra Femi, right? She's got four e sounds. But if you look at the way Dimitra Femi's name is written in Greek, they're not all the same vowel.
They're actually different vowels, but they all sound the same.
And in fact, I believe that Femi is spelt with aters.
Oh.
But ater in modern Greek is pronounced e. It's one of these vowels that became e. So
interesting.
So that's why we say mystery, right? In Greek, in ancient Greek, it would have been moose. That would have started with a moose sound, not a mis sound. Yeah, and so in Sindarin, you don't get it in Quenya at all, but in Sindarin, a Y is used as a vowel, and it's an e sound. It's not quite, it's not the same as oo.
Because in Quenya, it is a consonant.
Yes, in Quenya,
whereas in Sindarin, it's a vowel. So Tuaran Gorthad, not Tian Gorthad. So my bad, because I just did an episode of today's Tolkien Times on the Barrow Downs on my Middle Earth Map Mondays, and of course I called it Tian Gorthad every single time. But it is Tuaran
Here's
Gorthad.
why it's okay. Here's why it's okay. Because Tolkien does say in Appendix E that different people pronounce the vowels differently. You were pronouncing it maybe like a Gondorian would.
There you go, and that makes sense. I am a man after all.
So just so that you just say you were just, it was a Gondor accent. That's what it was. So you're fine.
Gondor accent.
You're fine.
That's fair. Okay. So Tian Gorthad or Tuaran Gorthad, I did know immediately what that was, and that again placed us where I thought we were on the map, and that's the Barrow Downs. Tian Gorthad is the Barrow Downs, and it's not like some other Barrow Downs. It's the Barrow Downs. It's the ones that we are familiar with. We learn about its history. It's where First Age lords and kings were laid to rest. That is true, right? We know that the First Age men that were heading west, those lords and kings were buried there. But the rest of it really kind of weirded me out a little bit, and we'll talk about that. Yeah.
So am I right in thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no indication of any white?
Nope. Not until after the Witch King of Angmar sent evil spirits from Rudauer to inhabit the Barrow Downs, which would have happened in the Third Age when Angmar was in its rocks.
Well into
that does not belong.
Yes.
Here. Yeah.
No.
There can be barrows, but not barrow whites.
There can be barrows, but not barrow whites.
What about Barry White?
Oh, Barry White's always welcome around here. What are you talking about, man?
Oh.
All right. Now, Galadriel, being both wise and bearing a ring, senses that it is a trap. Okay, actually, I think even we non-ring-bearing mortals recognize this is a trap. Elrond overrules her objection, though, and so we end up in Tuaran Gorthad, the Barrow Downs, where we learned all that. They immediately discover, almost immediately, the dead elves from Lindon. That is trouble right there. The messengers, they now realize the messengers that were sent to Celebrimbor and the message that he never got is still there. That's trouble. So Galadriel's like, we are out of here. Let's go. That's when everything hits the fan. We get the one elf who I can't remember his name. James, you mentioned it earlier. He's dragged into a barrow. Which one?
I don't think I mentioned it. I was mentioning the messenger's name.
That's right. You were mentioning the member's name. I don't know if this elf gets a name.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. I don't know if this one does.
He's a red shirt elf.
He is a red shirt, and he gets dragged into the barrow, and you hear a crunching sound that was really disturbing. I had that up. I was listening to it on headphones, and I'm like, oh, he's gone.
Yeah, that wasn't
That's
nice.
going to leave a mark.
Yeah.
But because I had my headphones on, I could actually hear the chanting too. They did the chant. Cold be hand and heart.
Which you couldn't hear unless,
you had to have headphones on.
You couldn't hear it.
It was so quiet, but it was there. And they did the whole thing. It was cold be hand and heart and bone, and cold be sleep under stone, never more to wake on stony bed, never till the sun fails and the moon is dead. And I was like, they got in the chant of the Barrow-Wight. That is awesome, but it doesn't belong here.
No. But also, unless you were listening to it over headphones or you were watching the subtitles, you'd have missed it completely.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
It was too quiet.
It was too subtle for that. Because on my first watch, when I watched it on my TV without the subtitles, I was watching, because I do that. I watch it as just a viewer first. And then I'll go back and do the note taking, because I don't want to kind of destroy the experience, the cinematic experience, by pausing every few seconds to jot notes down. I have to do that for our conversation. I have to put those things down, but I don't want to do that on my first watch through. So I watch it first, and then I watch it again later on with, taking notes. So when I watched that, I didn't hear that. I thought I heard cold be hand and heart and bone, and that's all I heard. I didn't hear anything else. But then when I was watching it again to take notes and I had my headphones on, I'm like, oh, they got it right. They did it. They really did it.
But this reminds me, though, of one of the issues that I think has led to some people loving episode 4 and some people hating it. And that is that they've crammed a ton of references to things that people were excited to see.
Yes.
But they were done with the wrong context and a lack of cohesion and so on. So if you go into this like looking for, I can't wait to see Tom Bombadil. I can't wait to see the Barrow-wights. I'm hoping we hear the chant. I'm hoping we see this. I'm hoping we see that. If that's what you're going into the episode with, then it checks all the boxes.
Yes.
And it's a great episode. It's like, oh, wow, we got 5 different references to things I was looking for. But because they didn't necessarily make sense in the context, and there's that lack of cohesion, you get other people saying that it's probably the weakest of the 4 so far.
I see exactly what you're talking about.
It felt for me like they were throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah, to see what sticks.
Some people love it, though. The response I saw on social media, some people thought it was the best episode of the season so far.
And that's the thing. If you're looking for those nods, you see them and you're like, I feel heard, right? I'm a book fan, and I got the cold be hand and heart and bone. I got Tom Bombadil calling himself the eldest and talk about how he was there in the dark before, under the stars before it was filled with fear. All of these great lines from the story, from the books, they're there. But then, I'm with you, James. It's like the lack of context or the wrong context. Mm-hmm. And it does, like you said, Sarah, feel sort of forced, sort of like they're just throwing out stuff to see what works. And I don't think that's their intent. I really don't. I think they're trying to throw us a bone. The problem is they're sort of throwing so many bones. They're not making them coherent. And they're also throwing the Jackson people bones too. They're seeing 2 different audiences. They're seeing the book audience like us, not remembering that we're also the film audience, right? We watched the Jackson films too. And we loved the first ones, I mean, Hobbit, not so much, don't get me started. But they're throwing bones for us as book readers, and then they're throwing, these homages to Peter Jackson, whether it's in shot composition or whether it's in dialogue, however it may be. And it does feel sort of like they're ticking these boxes, and it's almost like, well, we have to squeeze this in because if we don't, these people are going to be upset. I don't think that's their conscious thinking. I really don't. I've talked to the showrunners, and I just can't buy that that's like what they're genuinely trying for, but it is how it comes across. Mm-hmm. It comes across a little heavy-handed and just, don't miss this. Don't miss this. We're not going to be subtle about it, except in the case of maybe the chant. It was a little too subtle. But be more subtle. Not that subtle.
There were so many shots that were Jackson shots. Did you see the one where the elves were running over the hill?
Was the first
and it
one
just
I was thinking of. It was the Fellowship going south.
The helicopter shot.
The helicopter shot, 100%.
Yes, yes.
With the soaring music at that point
thought,
too.
Why?
It was the way they did it. It was this sort of rotating around them as they're walking along the ridge,
left to right on the ridge. The camera rotating around towards the right. Yeah, it was the exact same shot. It felt like such an homage, more of a pastiche, really. But it was unfortunate.
Or another copy paste.
Yeah, exactly. And I was talking about this. I think I was talking about this last night when we were recording a Questions After Nightfall. One of the things that Tolkien said in On Fairy Stories about adaptations, he was literally talking about the idea of these things being adapted. Though, of course, this was On Fairy Stories, so it was before Lord of the Rings, per se. He talked about how it's hard enough to build, that inner consistency of reality and create a secondary world that's believable. The problem with putting it on stage or putting it on film, or in this case, putting it on television, is that you're now creating a tertiary world. It becomes so much easier to break that immersion because you don't have to have as drastic a break to get there. And when you have a tertiary world and you break it, you're not even in the secondary world. You're back in the primary world. So the break is much bigger and you're out of it altogether. And that's what happens with us. We see these shots that are homages or pastiches of Jackson's, and it takes us out not to Middle Earth, or not even to Jackson's Middle Earth, but to the moment we were in a movie theater watching another movie.
Right.
And it's not where they want us to go. We do break that immersion because of it. And it's disappointing, because how do you fix that in adaptation? Because adaptation is always going to be creating a tertiary world. It's a deep, deep challenge. And again, I say kudos to them for trying, and they've nailed it so many times, but when they don't, it is painful. Yeah. My goodness. Rough stuff.
I agree. Yeah.
So we get the fight, right? The one we've seen teased in the trailer, and it is definitely not going the elves' way. I do like this bit, though. It isn't Galadriel's power of the ring that comes into play and saves their bacon. It is Elrond's knowledge of lore.
Yep.
He understands the only way these people are going to be killed is by using their own weapons that were buried with them.
Yep.
His knowledge as a lore master is what saves the day, and I actually really enjoyed that, even though it's not actually part of the lore.
But it's a cool. I mean, it could be. It's a
very
plausible.
cool thing, and it fits. It's a really believable myth.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% it is. Yeah. So then, of course, Galadriel accurately says it wasn't that something woke them; it's that someone woke them. It was Sauron.
Yep.
Of course, I'm going to say he has the power to do that, because the Witch King had the power to do the same thing when he came to the Shire. He was able to wake these evil things. But the problem is the evil things weren't there to begin with. That's where I struggle. Like, the Witch King goes and wakes up these spirits that he sent there himself from Rudauer and from Angmar. So where are these spirits coming from in the first place? So anyway, we digress.
Totally.
So post-battle, they've buried their dead guy, and Galadriel and Elrond are chatting about the ring. She's like, hey, this is that line that we saw in the trailer. You think this ring is deceiving me, but I believe it's leading me, right? It's given her clarity, though, and it's certainly, she now understands every single thing they're going to lose if they don't stop Sauron. She now sees this is going to, we have to do this. There is no option. We must find a way to stop Sauron, whatever the cost is. Even when Elrond says, don't you think the cost of victory could possibly get too high? So not there yet. Not there yet.
Yep.
What is that price, guys? What do you think? When is it going to get to it's too high a price for Galadriel? Ever? Could it?
When you become reliant upon the ring, perhaps, when it's the one in charge rather than you. It's using you and channeling you rather than you channeling it.
That makes sense. Because then it would become impossible, because you wouldn't be able to fight the power that controls it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, we were talking about the problematic nature of the elven rings in the last broadcast, weren't we? The last recording.
Yeah.
When we were saying that the elven rings may be the three good rings, but there are still problems with them. And I think what Elrond is worried about is that in the end, the rings will be the ones who are actually in charge rather than the elves.
That's a good way of putting it. The rings are in charge. They will be. We also get a reference to a season 1 moment. And folks, I know we're sort of blazing through this storyline, and this is one of the most important storylines. But A, we've already been at this for 2.5 hours. And B, this is a line we're going to see a lot more of. So we'll get a chance to dive deeper into this in more stuff going on. But I will at least cover the basics. We get a throwback to season 1. Elrond says that his father, and it's talking about Eärendil, the star, Venus, once told him, or once prophesied, because he didn't tell Elrond this, he actually told Celebrimbor this, once said that Celebrimbor's life would be in his hands. Now, I looked that up. There's nothing in the lore that actually says
I don't think that's in the books at all.
Book Eärendil ever did that. But Celebrimbor is the one who told Elrond that back in season 1. Like, your father once told me.
He goes, my father once told me a curious thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said
I'd forgotten about this. Oh, yes, I forgot.
Said, my life would be in your hands. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. But whatever it is, it's just a setup to make sure that Elrond is committed. Because remember, we talked about this desire to please your parent, right? I want parental approval.
Yep.
So if that's the prophecy, then Elrond is going to do whatever it takes to protect Celebrimbor. Hate to disappoint you, buddy.
Yeah.
That ship has done sailed.
Oh, dear.
It has sailed with arrows all through the sails.
And banners flying.
Yes, banners everywhere. Oh, man. Poor Elrond. He's going to disappoint his dad here on this one. Galadriel foresees more sacrifice, and she actually literally foresees it, right? The ring gives her these visions that we saw earlier. Last episode we talked about. And she asks Elrond to promise her, oppose Sauron above everything else, above everyone else, including my own life. I think at this point, Elrond's like, yeah, sure, I got no problem with that. I mean, he is ticked.
He's like, okay, yeah.
He's like, whatever. I was already planning on it. I mean, and he basically says that because he goes, I'm not taking advice from that ring. And the ring said that this is what I'm not going to do that. But I'll still promise you this. I will definitely go after Sauron, even above your life. So yeah, definitely some tension there. And they are interrupted by the scout informing them that they've heard drums. And of course, this is where we go to some other scene and we come back. But this is where we get to that last scene we're going to talk about. Yeah. Oh boy. Good stuff. They spot the orcs led by Adar. Elrond knows they've got to get word to Gil-galad. So they're about to do that when they almost get spotted by these orcs that are hunting down a horse. Honestly, they would have gotten away with it had not Camnir been shot. Galadriel is able to heal him. And I'm just reminded again of the ring's power of, we talked about this last time, of amplification. It takes her inherent abilities as part of that line of Luthien, the ability to heal, and it makes it much faster. That's a pretty cool power, I got to say. That better need like an 8-hour rest sort of cooldown, like a Dungeons and Dragons spell. Like she's going to have to sleep because otherwise she's going to go around just laying hands on people. This is like the paladin spell of laying on hands. But yeah, she heals him, but it's too late. They've heard, and so Galadriel says, "Get out of here. You go. We've got something to talk about here, right?" She gives the ring to Elrond first. This is a big moment. She hands the ring to Elrond.
Yeah, but it's the reason she does that turns out. It didn't occur to me at first, but then obviously it's going to come up, and it was a chilling moment.
So yeah, it really was a chilling moment. I mean, Elrond now has this ring that he does not like. He would much prefer to just destroy this thing. But
it's his realization. I can't remember the exact line he says.
Oh, yeah.
When he realizes that the only reason he didn't give it to, she didn't give it to me to save me.
No.
It was to save the ring. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's not even sacrificing herself to save us or to make sure the news gets to Gil-galad. She's sacrificing herself to protect the ring.
The ring.
Man, that is an intense realization, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with this. That has a chance to become a really powerful little subplot. But then we get the fight itself, I got to say, is well choreographed.
This was one of my favorite action scenes so far in the whole show.
100%.
I think the action scenes, like whether it was a Rondir that we talked about earlier.
Saving Isildur and Estrid.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then this, I think that the fight sequences have been excellent.
Really, really well choreographed. Great stunt work. Great visual effects. I mean, look, I know some of it's unrealistic. That's just the nature of these things, right? I mean, whether it's the multiple arrows that she fires at once.
If it was realistic, it would be so dull to watch. To be honest,
I know it would be totally dull. I get it. I mean, it's also weird that orcs use explosive napalm for torches. Like, could you maybe use something a little less destructible? Just use kerosene, But yeah, I agree with you. It was fantastic. It held tension. I loved that moment where the camera's panning as she's running towards them and she's flinging the little throwing knives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that shot where she's on the horse and she leans back and then has to shoot from her. Every bit of that fight was just so much fun to watch. I thought Morvath did
a very cool,
fantastic job. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But then we get that dramatic ending. I have to say that took me by surprise. Adar catches, with this chain. We don't know that it's him yet. This chain grabs her and pulls her off the horse. And as she's about to shoot up into the face of whoever this is, she has a brief moment of recognition, and you see that hand come in and grab the arrow.
Yep.
Elensi la lumeno entiello.
It was
Oh, I know.
The fact that he used that was such a brilliant use of that line.
Wasn't it? I mean,
it was.
Wow. This is another example of those moments where when they get it right, they get it flipping on the nose. This was great.
And it's funny because we've criticized them lifting dialogue before, but this was an example of where it totally worked.
It totally worked. And it
worked. It was really good.
Oh my goodness. I mean, what a line that is anyway. We do rarely get to hear Quenya in the show. It's almost usually Sindarin. But wow, a star shines in the hour of our meeting. And he calls her Heruni Altariel. Now that's Lady Altariel.
Yes, I thought that was wonderful.
And it's perfect. Now I've seen some thoughts on this because, and I want to make it clear, he called her Altariel, not Alatariel. Now, Alatariel was the epesse given to her. That's the name, the after-name given to her by Celeborn, by her husband, who is still missing. And that's in Telerin. Alatariel, the extra A, makes that in Telerin, and it means maiden crowned with radiant garland. Altariel is just the Quenya version of Alatariel. So he's speaking the Quenya version, not the Teleri version. I saw some people saying, "Oh, maybe Celebrimbor's, or maybe Celeborn's been turned into Adar." Like that's.
I don't think that's the point. I don't think that's the point at all.
And then we're going to get an Adar Galadriel reunion. No.
I don't think that's the point.
He's just speaking Quenya, and that is her name in Quenya.
And it's also, I mean, that name was given to her in reference to the way she, wore her hair and so on. And
maiden
that's the way she's
radiant garland, which is exactly how she's wearing her hair.
Wearing the hair. Yeah. So it's.
It was absolutely brilliantly done. Every bit of that setup was perfect, and every bit of that execution was perfect.
Yep.
It does, however, though the idea of him being Celeborn is ridiculous. However, it does make you wonder, does he know where Celeborn is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's using the name that I mean, yes, it is the Quenya version of Galadriel. If you're going to speak Quenya, you're not going to break Quenya and then call her Galadriel. You're going to call her Altariel. But that being the name that, closer to the origin of the name that Celeborn gave her, you wonder, does he have some sort of knowledge?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
but
it's interesting to think
about. This is why I get frustrated with this show, because when they get it right, when they do it well, it is wonderful.
Yeah. And what a way to end the show.
Then when they get it wrong, it's,
I know.
Yeah, this was great.
I'm glad they ended it on
really
this note,
good.
that this was the moment that the show wrapped, rather than a Tom Bombadil saying, it's your job to take on the Dark Wizard and Sauron. Cut. Right. If that had been the fade to black, the taste in my mouth would have been worse. This redeemed a lot of the episode for me. It was so good, especially on top of that great fight sequence. That was so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Glug, the actor who played Glug, was at least two of those orcs. Fantastic stuff. My goodness, people, this has been a long one. Thank you for your patience. That does actually conclude another episode of the Rings of Power Wrap-Up. Please be sure to join us again next week, right after episode 5 drops. And I'm pleased to say that going forward, these will be about half as long, because we're going to be covering one episode per episode. And man, that's going to be good for us too, because we are all fried.
It's been a lot.
It has been a lot. I mean, so that you know, folks, we have recorded episode 28 and 29 in about a 48-hour span. And I mean, we're just Rings of Powered out. So if you message us on social media and we don't talk about it for a few days, I think you'll know why. Hard to believe we're halfway through season 2, though. Can you believe? Halfway through.
Halfway through, yeah.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah, I think they've got a lot to do in the last 4 episodes of this season.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, thanks to the team that helps us get this show out there every week. Our editor, Jordan Reynolds, Barleyman Becca Davis, social media manager, Casey Hilsey, and our website guru, Phil Dean.
And speaking of the website, please check it out at ringswrapup.com. We've got show notes, our online storefront, and maybe an outtake or two.
I think we might.
But you'll also want to take a look at our library page. This show may be about the Amazon adaptation, but the three of us are first and foremost fans of the books. So we've provided links for you to get all the lore. We do get a few pennies from the purchases you make there, so thank you in advance.
Indeed. And one last thing, as always, don't forget to send your thoughts, comments, and most of all, the number of accents you think Tom Bombadil speaks in to Barlaman at theprancingponypodcast.com. And if you want a chance to have your actual voice heard, you can send us audio of you asking your question by visiting podinbox.com/prancingponypod and record your question for us.
But be sure to send the question to Barlaman too. Now, we've been able to rely on Barlaman lately, but we do get a lot of mail. So we'll get to you when we can. Your question or comment may be featured on a future episode.
As always, though, this has been far too short a time, despite it being nearly 3 hours, to spend among such excellent and admirable listeners. But until next time.
Farewell, friends.